Good morning and welcome to the Media Speaks Live Sunday morning news show now on Sundays. That's right. I'm D-Lake for Prez. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching the show right now live or even at a later date. It's all good. I'm joined by Sam I.B. DeGangi. That would be Sam of the Correct Views. Also, the band Passing Time. Very prolific, Samuel.
Welcome to the Sunday edition.
Awesome. And we're also joined by co-reporter Anne Marie. Anne, how are you doing?
Hi to everybody out there.
Anne, we got you. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. Awesome. And today we're going to start off. We're just going to jump right into the 2016 presidential election. Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Obviously, there's other people in the race. We are aware of that. We've talked about that before. Let's kind of try to focus on, the front runners. Trump versus Clinton. A lot of things came out this week. The birther issue. Donald Trump put it to rest. Hillary's the one that actually brought it up at the Black Caucus meeting or whatever. And also, last week she made the statement deplorables that now the Republicans are embracing and saying, yes, I am deplorable. I'm with the deplorables. Put me in that basket of deplorables. If you call me deplorable, fine, I'll be that. And also, the health of both candidates was an issue this week, as we saw both of them putting out doctor's notes, saying, here's my doctor's note. Trump going on Dr. Oz, who some people have different opinions on. But all this stuff is happening this week. I know that Anne Marie had a lot to say about some of these issues, but why don't we just give Anne Marie the floor here for a minute and let her kick this off. Anne Marie, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I totally disagree with Trump. Hillary Clinton never said that Obama wasn't born in this country. I think it might have been someone on her team, and there was like a rumor that maybe they got fired. But she herself has never been quoted in the press saying Obama wasn't born here. In fact, that wouldn't be a very smart political move because, just think about politics back then when she was running against Obama and was kind of like losing. Eventually she was in his cabinet. I mean, people are even considering her to be his VP pick at one time. So I doubt she would have said something like that. And there's no proof that she ever said anything like that. Is that Trump is the one that fanned the flames, by claiming that there was a long form birth certificate. And he said it in 2011 that it was forged. I mean, it's Trump that said these things, and he promised to give $5 million to a charity.
I have to pause you here. I have to. Fact check.
Okay.
Factcheck.org. It's interesting. The whole birther thing was started by Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2008 against Barack Obama, and this was
actually been mostly proven, Emery.
It's actually. But it's even on fact.
That's not Hillary. That's her campaign. Like, if somebody from her campaign said it, I read that
Hillary or Hillary's
fired them. It wasn't her herself.
Hillary or Hillary's campaign in 2008. Neither of those elements are Donald Trump.
But Donald Trump claimed that Hillary Clinton herself said it. I mean, he said that Hillary Clinton started this. I mean, she did not ever say it, and I've never heard her say it in the press. And she's not stupid. She wouldn't say something like that. I mean, she became the Secretary of State eventually, and it's just not political.
Probably because of what she held over Barack's head. The fact that he wasn't born here. That's how she got that.
Well,
Obama knew better than not to give it to her. He knew what the Clintons would do.
I believe that he was born here. I believe he was born here. Even Trump is saying now that he believes Obama was born here. Now, my question is Trump going to give $5 million to the charity of Obama's choice? Because remember, he promised to do that if he satisfied Trump of his citizenship, which now he has done. So Trump should put his money where his mouth is because he promised that.
Oh, back in 2011, Donald Trump promised to donate $5 million to the charity of Barack Obama's choice if he was fully satisfied by his record of birth. All right. Well, I mean, being fully satisfied. So when he said this week that President Obama was born in the United States, period. Let's get on to making America great again. That means that he should now donate $5 million to the charity of Barack Obama's choice. You're the first person I've heard say anything like that, but that's interesting that you would bring that up. What about when Donald Trump sat through Barack Obama totally basing on him and making fun of him, and then showing a fake birth certificate at that 2011 White House press conference where he totally ridiculed Mr. Trump, and Mr. Trump sat there and took it. That was worth $5 million.
No, they always joke around. They make fun of everybody at those things. I mean, they make fun of themselves. Everybody. I mean,
it's like a roast.
Colbert. Yeah, remember when Colbert made fun of George W. Bush, and Laura Bush, they said, was pissed off behind the scenes or something like that. I mean, they rag on all those presidents. They rag on the reporters. They rag on everybody.
Sam, what's going on there? What do you got, Sam?
I have one question that I really would like to put out there for anyone listening to this for the whole birther issue. There's a whole bunch of issues, but that's going to make everybody tune off. So I'm going to do it in one easy swipe here. The font type, that is the kind of writing, the style of writing that appears on Barack Obama's birth certificate was not created until several years after Barack Obama was born. Now,
when Barack Obama was born in the 70s, they had typewriters.
No, that's not what I mean. The font style, the font, what's known as the font type, the actual kind of letter that you have Old English, you have Gothic, you have Times Roman.
I'm very familiar with what fonts are, Sam, but I'm saying, to your point, that back in the 70s when Barack Obama was born, the printout would have all unique letters because they used a typewriter. And what you're saying is the forgery has identical letters, which is more indicative of a computer font. Is that correct?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, that's absolutely correct. And I think he was born in the 60s. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's what threw me off. The font was created much later, yeah. And it did not exist then. There has been no addressing of this fact in the media. There has been no comment about it. It has simply been swept under the rug, and I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me how his birth certificate, which is so original, has a font type that was not created until several years after his birth.
And Sam, you were right. He was born in 1961 on August 4th, according to this birth certificate. Now, this is how it appeared on the website, and the way that it appears when you open it up in Adobe Illustrator, and you release the clipping mask, and it's in several layers. But leave it up to Snopes to tell you it's real. And the race of the father, African. Sam, did you have any problem with that?
No, not. I don't know.
Really, because that term wasn't a race of the father, African. Was it? That's not a race. African's not a race. And in 1961, in 1961, race of the father, African wouldn't have been what was listed on there. So.
Yeah, no.
I mean, race of the mother is Caucasian. Race of the father is African. That's a race in 1961. Okay, thank you.
That is interesting too. I'd like to know if anybody else born in 1961 in the same place has African written as their race. That would be interesting to know.
What about the book that he wrote that never came out, but the publishers the publishers, a publisher says that Obama publisher says he was born in Kenya. Here it is. This is something that I was trying to bring up for Anne-Marie the other day. Published on the book jacket is that Barack Obama, the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review, not president of the United States, but of the Harvard Law Review, was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. Now, Anne-Marie, we also know that the president was raised partially in Indonesia with his stepfather, and that's when he was at the madrasa and at the Muslim schools there as a youth. And some people say that, how did his mom get him to Indonesia and back to America without the proper citizenship documentation? And also a lot of people, even Donald Trump back in like 2011, 2012, was wondering, why can't we see Mr. Obama's college records that might indicate that he attended those colleges, like maybe on a foreign student visa of some kind, or foreign student, money grant or something like that, or what would we call that, Sam? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, it would be a student visa. My problem too, and then
foreign student loans.
I was saying before we went on, I understand that people are saying that this was a good idea for Trump to do because everybody else believes it. So if he acts like he believes it too, they'll elect him. That is capitulation. That is sellout. If that is what he's going to do once he gets in office, just to keep popularity ratings high, then I'm going to have major concerns about Trump.
And you say he buckled? You're thinking that Trump buckled? He capitulated?
What proof was there given to him that changed him on this? Nothing new has come out since he said it. Nothing.
Well, it was actually on Wednesday that Hillary brought it was on Wednesday that Hillary brought the issue up again. Then they started questioning Trump about it again. He said previously over the past year he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. But now he had to. He trolled the media by making them all come to his hotel, check out the presidential suite. Then he had 44 different war heroes say how they wanted him to be the president before he made a 30-second announcement that the president was born in the United States. Period. End of story. Let's get on to making America great again.
It was clever. It was funny. It was still sellout.
It was a sellout to who? The globalists, the New World Order.
To be standing, he's going to be
mainstream media. Who did he sell out to, Sam? Who did he sell out to?
He sold the truth out, is what he did. He's the one who said that he was not going to back down no matter how unpopular it was. He wasn't going to be PC. What's this? What's this? I mean, if he was going to do this, then I would expect him to say, hey, there's some new data that I have seen. No, he just completely buckled. Vote pandering.
It's pandering, buckling, and it's a complete sellout?
Yes. Unless there's some new fact, which he didn't say there was. So he's saying that everything he said before was a lie, or he doesn't stand behind it. I'm floored by this.
Interesting, Sam. I think it was a strong political move on his part. Whether or not he fully believes that might be another thing, but it came at the opportune time, and I think that he played the card well. Played that. Birtherism is in today's top headlines. Birtherism actually became a card in the game of the election, and I think that maybe he played it wisely.
All right,
he tried to put it. First he put the origin squarely on Hillary. Then he put the completion of it because it was him that forced. It was Donald Trump that forced in the media narrative for Barack Obama to pull out his long-form birth certificate, which to Sam and I looks like a fraud, but it convinced the mainstream media and probably 80% of America, especially the minority community that he's courting right now, Sam. And when Hillary goes in front of the same type audience, the Black Caucus, and says that Donald Trump is trying to divide and make it a racial issue because he's the first black president. Listen, was it racist of Donald Trump to suggest that Ted Cruz couldn't be president because he was born in fucking Canada, a white Republican? Is that racist to suggest that you're not eligible to be president? There was nothing racist about suggesting that Obama was ineligible based on our Constitution. Did he sell out?
Yes,
Maybe.
it was racist. It was racist.
It's not racist.
You're saying it would be a good political move, a good move then. Say CNN called me and said they wanted me to be on, I have my own show. But I have to go ahead and say that really I was wrong about all nuclear issues that I've been doing for 5 years. I was just wrong. Fukushima really isn't that bad. You mean to tell me that that's the same thing Trump just did?
They'll stupidly sign you to a contract and then force you out like Jesse Ventura when they don't like what you're saying.
But I'm saying, so Jesse didn't sell himself out to keep his contract. Trump has really done that, no matter what kind of spin tries to be applied to it here.
Look, he's not the president yet. Even if he believes that
in the Black Caucus, then he's sold out for the Black Caucus.
Well, he flip-flops. That's what Trump does. Trump flip-flops all the time. One day he says something, and the next day he says the complete opposite.
That's not true at all. That's been a bunch of media lie. That hasn't been true at all.
Sam, you just accused him of flip-flopping.
I said this time, but that has not been the case through all of this.
Yeah, but what if he said the other day after 44 war heroes endorsed him, then for 30 seconds he says, okay, Barack was born in the United States, period. Then he gets elected president. Then his first week of president, he says, oh, hey, you know what? I looked over some of these documents that now I'm entitled to as president, and guess what? It shows that Barack actually wasn't born in America. So I was right with the first stuff. I was wrong when I said he was, and now we're going to take action.
Nobody will believe him after this. He lost all credibility on this issue.
He lost all credibility?
On this issue. Nobody will ever listen to him on this issue again. He destroyed his own issue.
Look, Barack Obama's not running for president. He's on his way out the door. Fine. He was born in America.
No. Actually, Sam, do everything he's done if he wasn't born here.
Sam, did you see that Barack Obama actually gave Donald Trump an assist this week when President Barack Obama said, why are we focusing on this again? Let's not focus on this. Let's just focus on the real issues. Donald Trump only spent 30 seconds on it, said, fine, he was born in America, period, after he trolled the media for 20 minutes of live airtime of a top military brass endorsing him. Donald Trump wins again. Boom. There you have it. I mean, whether you think he sold out.
He won by selling out. It was a shitty win. It was
selling out. Fine. Smart play. If I was playing a game of cards and the birther card came up, if I played the card like, let's challenge where Barack Obama was born all over again when I already lost that hand back in 2011 when I had to sit there as Donald Trump and let President Barack Obama embarrass me and make fun of me.
I'll tell you what you did.
In 2016, when I'm running for president, I'm going to play the card differently. I'm going to juke out the whole mainstream media, make them a 10-11, have 44 military brass endorse me. Then in 30 seconds, I'll say, fine, he was born here, period. There you have it. Rudy Giuliani already said it.
I'll tell you why that is not the case. No, what he should have done was done everything the way he did it, and then told the media, I understand that it's common acceptance that he was born in America. I will do nothing to try to change that. But no, I still do not believe it. Bam, done.
Okay, bam, you just lost the black vote, Sam. I know how to run for president. My name is D-Leg for Prez. You don't know what you're talking about. You're living on the fringe elements of the dark, seedy corners of the internet, Sam. Not that I've never been there, but you don't know when it comes
on that dark, seedy corner where the facts are.
Okay.
Unless somebody can tell me where that font type came from.
But in other
This
countries,
is a battle. Emery, please.
but when you're born in another country, the birth certificates don't look like our birth certificates. I know this for a fact because I've seen people's birth certificates who were born in other countries. In fact, they're even called.
Anne-Marie.
But they're called they're not even called birth certificates. Some of them are called certificate of live birth. And some of them actually look completely different than our birth certificates here. And sometimes your birth certificate, if you're born in another country, might be lost. There might have been a fire. I mean, this happens in real life, and you have to prove where you were born, or you were born to American parents. I mean, this is a problem when you need things in this country, and to prove. You need a birth certificate. So I mean, to me.
So what's this? Obama's African birth certificate.
Yeah, but you don't believe that. I mean, even Trump doesn't believe it. I mean, Trump fanned the flames.
That piece of paper looks more real than this green printout. Then Why would it have that printout is so fake?
Red bar.
No,
listen,
you know what?
I can't.
Back then, actually, when this came in 2012, I had to get my daughter's birth certificate for her to play soccer and send it to her mom, and it looked fucking nothing, absolutely zero like this fake crap. It didn't look anything. They printed it out on a computer, and it was amazing. Maybe because she wasn't born in 1961, but it didn't look like this fake shit.
That's that's what I've seen before. Certificate of live birth. I mean, that it looks different, a little bit different than or a lot different than our birth certificates here. That doesn't mean it's fake because it looks different. If people in this country who were born in other countries,
still missing it.
Hawaii's not another country.
Letter style was not invented in 1961. Look it up. There's no way to spin that, Anne-Marie. That font type did not exist in 1961. Font types are created, and in some instances, they know exactly, like Times Roman. They know exactly when that font type was created. I forget the exact name of that font type. You can look it up. It was not created in 1961. And it is impossible for that to be a copy of a 1961 birth certificate, no matter what difference in formatting or name you give it. The fact that the name is written in that font that wasn't invented is the elephant in the room.
We don't have enough time. We don't have enough time to retry the whole case of the full authenticity, legitimacy, non-forgery of Barack Obama's birth certificate. What we're trying to focus on is the presidential candidates running for president, the way that Hillary Clinton brought it up this week, the way that Donald Trump basically camped it out by doing what he did, and then the mainstream media's insistence on pursuing this and also labeling it racist. And Anne-Marie, you said you agreed with that? Was it racist when he called out Ted Cruz being born in Canada? Was that racist? When he said Ted Cruz might not be eligible to run in America because he was born in Canada, was that racist? When the mainstream media questioned John McCain being born on a military base, was that racist?
Well, with Ted Cruz, I mean, his father was born in Cuba. His mother was born in America, but then she moved to England and got married to her first husband in England and might have become a citizen there. Then she moved to Canada and married. Ted Cruz's mother, her first husband, lived in England, and she moved to England.
And then she might have become. You said she might have become a citizen of what? England?
Maybe. And then she moved to Canada and married Ted Cruz's father, who moved to Canada, and they formed a business together. And then from there, they think that maybe she became a Canadian citizen, and that he also became a Canadian citizen, possibly, because they had this business, and they, it's more involved. I did a lot of research on it myself.
Well, Ted Cruz actually reportedly had joint citizenship before he renounced it shortly before the election. Supposedly, that was the report.
Well, if he was born to two Canadians or his father. It's very confusing with Ted Cruz. It was a little confusing. But
American mother that might have obtained English citizenship, possibly Canadian citizenship, then has a baby in Canada with a Cuban, but the son is American because she was American originally. Is that how it works out? Well, I mean, but the question is to question that, is that racism? Is that racism?
But that's different. That's different. Barack Obama said that he was born in Hawaii, and we don't. I mean, and like you said,
really,
this was years ago.
Said he was born in Kenya, and his wife even slipped up and said that as well. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, Emory.
Ted Cruz said he was born in America too, so that would be the same argument. Barack said he was born in Hawaii when he was really born in Kenya, and Ted Cruz said he was born in America when he was probably born in Canada.
No, Ted Cruz admits that he was born in Canada, but he tries to say that he's an American because his mom was American.
Right. Now, this is the thing, though. I mean, does it really... I mean, I believe that Obama was born in Hawaii, but does it really matter anymore these days with everybody here? We're a melting pot of different cultures.
If you're born in another country, you can open up what's called the Manchurian Candidate, if you don't know what that is. It's the idea basically it's the idea that you could take someone like Barack Obama, put him in a Muslim school like they did, and then bring him to the U.S. with ulterior motives and raise him to be the kind of president you want. That's what both Manchurian Candidate movies are about. The original one with the English actress who played Murder, She Wrote, and then the other one, I forget her name, Billingsley.
Angela Lansbury.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
that's why that matters.
Emory just made a brilliant point. Emory, just say what you just said again, because you made a really strong point there.
Well, I mean, you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was born in another country, and he was very popular. I mean, these people are born in other countries, and they become senators. There's lots of people who are good people who are born in another country, and why can't they be? They're part of our country. They could, what if they become citizens later on, and they weren't born here, and they become a citizen later on, or they marry somebody here, and they're smart. And they would be great and make our country better. I mean, just because they were born in another country, they're out.
No, that's why Arnold Schwarzenegger could never run for president, because he wasn't born here. He was born in Austria, and
that's what I'm saying.
They tried to get that. They tried to get that turned, but there's this thing that we have that's called the U.S. Constitution, so it makes you ineligible if you weren't born here.
But the reason why that was put in there is because we were trying to break free from like England, and we didn't want someone, coming over from there.
It doesn't matter the reason why it's in there. It's in there.
You can't do that unless you change the Constitution. You can amend the Constitution, but otherwise you can't do that. And the reason they don't want to amend the Constitution for it is you'll do exactly what they did with Barack, which was set somebody up with other ideals from another country and stick them in the White House, which is exactly what they did.
Oh, see, now I know that this is a little bit different subject, but this is exactly what Trump is saying about Hillary Clinton taking away gun ownership. I mean, he says this a lot, that Hillary Clinton, they said this about Obama, he's going to take away our guns. That's changing the Constitution. That's not going to happen. Hillary Clinton isn't going to ban gun ownership.
The whole plan is to do it through executive order against the Constitution.
No, you can't do that through executive order. That's not a fact.
And Maria,
I'll tell you how you
the Clintons did it once.
No.
They did it once. Look up the assault weapons ban. They did it once.
He's not suggesting that. He's suggesting, Donald Trump suggested that Hillary Clinton would do this by judicial appointments.
She did it once.
And she hasn't made any judicial appointments. And this is ignorant on his part, because the only way you can ban gun ownership is by repealing the Second Amendment. And she never supported that.
You refused to. She did it once.
She never repealed the Second Amendment.
She did. The assault weapons ban took weapons off of millions of law-abiding citizens. Millions.
But he's saying all guns. He's saying that there'll be gun she'll ban all guns. They said that about Obama too. People ran out and bought bullets for regular guns and bought up lots of guns. The gun sales
was
went
a good idea because he had said to Putin on a hot mic that he didn't know was hot, that was exactly what he was going to try to do. He said it in his own words. Of course she would try to
repeal a constitution.
How did she get the guns the first time, Anne-Marie? It was Bush that had to fix that. How did she get it the first time?
No, but listen, both houses. Yeah, but in order to ban an amendment, like the Second Amendment, to repeal it or to create a new amendment, both houses of Congress must pass a bill to amend it by
when she did it last time. I know all of that, but that's not how the Clintons worked. That's not what they did last time. They just did it last time. They did not do what you just said. They didn't.
Nobody repealed an amendment. I'm trying to explain how you repeal or ban an amendment. The only way, like this, the
She's
only way.
She's do it that way. She's going to do it the same way her and Bill did last time. They're just going to do it by executive fiat. They're going to ignore the Constitution. What you're saying on paper is true, but they're going to ignore it. True or not, they're going to ignore it and do what the Clintons always do. They did.
But that's not even what Trump is saying. Trump is saying that she would do it by judicial appointments, and I'm saying that's ignorant because
I know why she would do that, because the judges were actually the judges are what reversed it last time. If she can change the judges first and then do what they did in the 90s, yeah, that would absolutely work, Anne-Marie. That would completely work because they won't stick up for the Constitution if she appointed them. So yeah, I could see.
They never banned guns. Obama in 8 years never banned. People still buy guns. Obama never banned guns. He can't ban guns by executive order. And the judicial.
D-Lake, help me here. Clinton banned guns. Somehow this is being lost here.
All guns? All guns?
That was
she never banned all guns.
And then they took all assault weapons and were going after all guns. This is like public record from the 90s. Yes,
and currently the United Nations has a detailed plan for that as well that they keep trying to get passed.
D-Lake, can you get me some?
They significantly want to limit things.
Can you sucker me up some assault weapons ban facts about how Clinton did this?
Well, you're talking about assault weapons, and I'm talking about all guns. They say
the goal
that they're going to ban all guns.
If you change the judges, you can ignore everything that you're saying has to be done, and the judges will okay it because they were appointed. So Trump is 100% correct. That's why.
I think Trump is making us. I think Trump is making.
What you're saying is 100% constitutionally correct, but the judges will supersede the Constitution, and that wouldn't completely take away the Second Amendment, which was the initial try for the assault weapons ban. It was meant to be a full-out weapons ban.
I think
that's why she wants the judges, Anne-Marie, so she can ignore everything you're saying.
Well,
I think that's what Trump tries to point out when he. I mean, basically, he discusses that the next president is going to have 1 to 2, maybe 3, possibly 4, could be up to 5. We don't know. The judges are getting kind of old, but we did lose Antonin Scalia, Supreme Court Justice Scalia, and when we lost Scalia, even there was just recently a vote that was tied, because right now we basically have like a tie of opinions among the Supreme Court. And so essentially the next president is going to elect to the Supreme or nominate to the Supreme Court the next Supreme Court justice, which essentially is a tiebreaker. That's where we're going with the Supreme Court talk. And Donald Trump is the one that brings it up in his speeches because he says, if we elect Hillary Clinton, the next Supreme Court justice could lead all further future decisions in the favor of the liberal progressive Democrats, which is going to follow the path of, assault weapon bans, gun confiscations, increasing the spectrum of people that can no longer own guns. I mean, right now, like felons
Wait.
can't. Other people that have been to prison, even if it was on a trumped up charge, they can't own a gun now. You know, and like I have friends that have been to prison for like weed crimes, and now it's illegal for them to have a gun to protect themselves, and I have a problem with that.
Okay, listen. What I'm saying is, the Second Amendment right to bear arms has limitations. Like I said, I've said this in a past show. The first 3 words of the Second Amendment: a well-regulated. Now,
militia.
okay, had bans on private ownership of certain kinds of military-grade weapons. This is what Sam was talking about. Most recently in 1994. That ban expired after 10 years, and Republicans in 2004 did not renew it. Okay? So let me just see for a second. I have a couple of problems. I want them to regulate. I do want more government regulation of guns, and I have a few reasons for this. Number one, think about this. Is there an age? Restriction?
Excuse me. Is number one your personal safety? Your number one reason for not liking guns is your personal safety? Is that what number one is?
What I'm saying is, like, you know, like I have a son right now, and you know, some people at 7 years old teach their kids how to shoot a gun. Now, some kids get a BB gun. Some kids aren't allowed any kind of gun. But the government has no regulation. I mean, a 16-year-old could have a gun, a 12-year-old could have a gun. And I think there should be an age restriction. Now, when you go buy a gun, I mean, just think about that. You have children. I mean, do you want your children to own a gun? It should be, I think, regulated. I know I took a business law class in college. And this was the first question the teacher asked us. This was business law 1. So this is like the easier one. And they said to us, it was basically like a people's court. If you ever watch People's Court on TV, it was a 16-year-old buys a car. A 16-year-old buys a car. The car that they bought is a complete lemon. I mean, it's broke down. It doesn't work. They paid this guy for the car. So now the plaintiff is the 16-year-old boy. He's suing the defendant who sold him the car, the adult. Now, obviously the defendant loses. Why did the defendant lose? Why did the guy who sold this kid the broke down car lose?
Why did he lose on the people's court for selling the kid a lemon?
Right.
Because the kid couldn't own a car, but it's not the legal right. It's not a God-given right to own a car. It's a God-given right to own a gun. You don't have to be a certain age to have the freedom of speech. You don't have to be a certain age to have the right to privacy. It's a God-given right.
It's an inalienable right. To Sam's point there. But Anne Marie sounds like she wants to make owning a gun more like driving a car. Sam, how do you feel about that?
It's not a God-given right to have a car.
My point ever. You know, that's really not fair. Let me get out what I'm saying and finish my point. I mean, the point is, and you know, I actually took this freaking class and took these stupid college classes, and I got an A in it. And most of the kids said that the defendant lost because the car broke down and because of a lemon law, and which isn't the answer. The reason why is because the kid was 16 and he was below the age of 18. And you have to be 18 to form a contract with somebody. And this was part of contract law. And the
kid wasn't awarded under the lemon law because of his age?
Right, but the kid won. The kid won the case, but it wasn't because the car was broken. It wasn't because the car sucked. It wasn't because it was because he wasn't 18. You have to be 18 to buy a car.
Why would he bring the case if the car didn't suck? Why would he bring the case if the car didn't suck, like a lemon?
Sucked, Dealey. The car was broke down. The car was a lemon. But the people thought that the kid won because the car sucked. And there's lemon laws. That's not why the kid won, though. The reason why the kid won is because he was 16. He wasn't 18. You have to be 18 to legal contract with somebody. So that's why the kid won. He was
or 19,
underage.
so if you're 18 or 19 and buy a piece of crap lemon car, the lemon law doesn't apply to you?
No, maybe then it does. I'm saying then it would, maybe, but she was asking specifically about why a 16-year-old. It took about 5 seconds for the judge to just say, they didn't even have to look at the car. There is no contract because the kid was under 18. That's the point. It doesn't matter if it worked. He didn't have to even prove that didn't work. No one could sell this kid a car because he was under the age of 18. He was only 16.
So the seller was at fault for selling to a 16-year-old is what you're saying now.
Yes, because there's no contract. That's a law in this country. You can't sell or enter a legal contract with someone below the age of 18. And what I'm saying to you is, at what age is it okay for a kid to shoot a gun, to own a gun? That should be regulated by the government. I don't want a 5-year-old to have.
Oh my God! Don't make me look up the 12-year-old girl that totally dominates the marksman course with her like automatic weapon. I mean, it's fucking amazing. Like I want a kid to be trained in that. When I went to summer camp as a kid, I learned archery, BB guns, horseback riding, starting a fire, canoeing, swimming, diving
and
board.
Gun shooting?
Yeah, gun
Your mom
shooting.
was okay? How old were you?
When I
shot guns, I was like 9, 10, 11.
When I grew up, there was a gun in my parents' bedroom. I was allowed to know where it was at. I wasn't allowed to touch it, and I had a basic understanding of how it worked by the time I was like 8 or 9.
And there's already laws for if you're a parent with a gun in a home with kids. There's actually already laws about certain types of containment that you have to. I mean, Sam, it's safety first. I mean, don't get it twisted that we're all just like, hey kids, check this out, bang, bang, bang.
Your dad was probably like mine was. You didn't dare touch it when he wasn't there. You just knew you were going to die if you did. The gun was the least of your worries. The other thing is, I wish he was. If you have to look him up, there used to be somebody that was on the show from time to time named Matt Winklejohn, and I don't want to paraphrase here, but I think it's safe to say Matt Winklejohn has an arsenal. Would you describe it as an arsenal? Would you rob Matt Winklejohn's house, D-Lake? No.
Careful, Sam.
His son is around firearms all the time, and I've heard the kid talk on air briefly. This kid is far more responsible, even, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago when we used to talk to him, than most adults.
But not all kids are. Not all kids are. And also...
And that's up to the parent, not the government.
Oh, and but we have to protect the children.
The government does not have to protect from. We have a Second Amendment right.
Sam hit a chord there.
And the second thing is, it should be regulated more because there are people. Think about this. Like before, it was if you had a felony. D-Lake was just talking about that. If you have a felony, you're not supposed to buy a gun. And there are gun show loopholes sometimes where they don't check. You go to a gun show. Now, this is the thing. Just recently in the news, this was actually a couple of months ago, and we didn't talk about it on the show, but it's actually illegal now to own a gun if you have a misdemeanor offense, which is different than a felony, because if you were found guilty of domestic violence, and that's a misdemeanor offense. So, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that there are a little bit more regulations, and we didn't cover that before, but that popped up in the news that someone, and people who have that on their record aren't supposed to be allowed to own a gun either. I mean, they have a history of abuse and domestic violence, and that's a misdemeanor, not a felony. And also, there are people in this country who have mental problems. And how do you know that these people have mental problems? I mean, there's people probably who go to like a psychiatrist, and we don't know. We're not privy to that. That's like, how are you going to find out? Sometimes after there's an assault,
Yeah, but if the government
then
is,
you find out.
but if government and state government is reducing the number of psychiatric wards, how are we ever going to find out those people? I mean, we need to have the institutions that
More
provide help for those.
regulations.
We need
Regulations.
to sponsor the wards that have help for those particular individuals that are suffering from mental problems. And also maybe, it could be propaganda, but there's obviously identifiers, and we need to encourage people not just see something, say something. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I've had neighborhood watch in my neighborhood since I was a little kid. I know what neighborhood watch is. If I see some funky ass shit, I say something. I mean,
Okay, but can I make a point though? I just want to get my point out there clearly, because I know, sometimes you guys talk over me.
I want you to. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is I have a couple of points. No one, Hillary Clinton, President Obama, is not saying they want to take away everybody's guns or repeal the Second Amendment. If Obama intended to take away everybody's guns, don't you think he would hurry up about it? I mean, his presidency is going to end soon. He never took away everybody's guns.
Right.
And this is my second point. During George H.W. Bush, this is the elder Bush's presidency, Congress passed a ban on private ownership of military-grade assault rifles. That was under George H.W. Bush's presidency. Then Congress passed a ban. This is a fact. That ban, for some reason, expired. Okay, that's what happened. Obama would have liked to reinstitute that ban, but you have to remember that this happened under George H.W.'s presidency. So to make this about a Democrat,
did Obama reinstate it or let it retire? He retired it. It was up for retirement.
I'm saying.
Can I finally address those 2 points? I've been waiting for ever. He did try to bring the ban back. He wasn't able to because the Republicans took over Congress. If the Republicans had not brought in the number of people in Congress during his second term, the reinstatement form or whatever, the reinstatement papers were on his desk. The ink was still wet. He had planned on doing it. Second of all, Cato Institute. This was written in 2000. Close the gun show loophole, demands the handgun control people. The major obstacle to Congress's complying with HCI's wishes appears to be the desire of Democrats to preserve gun shows as campaign issues. But what voters need to learn about, and the reason that the gun hole loophole isn't closed, is that there isn't a gun hole loophole. Despite what some media commenters have claimed, existing gun laws apply just as much to gun shows as they do to any other place where guns are sold at any time. This has been the case since 1938. Persons selling firearms have been required to obtain a federal arms license. If a dealer sells a gun from a storefront, from a room in his home, or from a table at a gun show, the rules are exactly the same. He can get authorization from the FBI for the sale only after the FBI runs an instant background check. Instant background checks are done at all gun shows. Cato Institute. There is no gun show loophole. It doesn't exist.
Amory, your thoughts? Amory,
you could just Google it. I mean, you could just Google gun show loophole. You'll see which states have it. I've Googled it before. You can go to Wikipedia.
The Cato Institute's a law institute. There is no state. There isn't, and there's video of Steven Crowder trying to go in, and DLA could probably find it real quick. He goes to like a ton of gun places and tries to use this imaginary gun show loophole, and it never once works. There isn't one. They will background check you. You could possibly, if you're really good, get a fake ID, But that's your only hope. They have to check you. And I've only been to one gun show in my life. And when I asked questions about buying guns before they'd even talk to me, he asked me if I had my ID. I do know that.
I've been to the comic convention and also like a tattoo and piercing conventions. Never a gun show. I mean, I've fired off lots of guns. My neighbor had an arsenal when I used to live in a rural area where we could just blast off, and it was super awesome and amazing. The gun show loophole, gun law loophole, Brady law loophole, or Brady bill loophole, it has so many names, private sale loophole, and private sale exemption are political terms in the United States, referring to sales of firearms by private sellers, including those done at gun shows, dubbed the secondary market. And what about like a grandfather clause, like if my dad wants to give me his guns, or what if my neighbor willed me his arsenal and then it became mine and then I bought more bullets? I don't know how it all.
Gifting is different, but I don't think you have to. If it's your family, like if it's an inheritance, I don't think that you have to do. But if you
they're trying to make it so you have. I mean, that needs.
Yeah, that's different. That I'm really not too sure about. I don't think you have to for that. But there is no way you can go and buy a gun without a background check. There isn't a way to do that.
So we have the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, but there are some restrictions. Maybe Anne-Marie wants more restrictions, like you want gun ownership to start at 18, like porno magazines or something, Anne-Marie? I'm not sure where you're going with all this. Like, not until you're 18 are you old enough to own a gun? When the 12-year-old girl is an expert marksman on the gun course with a semi-automatic? I mean, do you want me to go look that up, or?
I've been waiting for you to look her up. You kept saying you were going to.
Yeah, she's seen it before. It's amazing. I mean, you don't think that young kids can be proficient at guns and weaponry? I mean.
So you want your kids to have a gun right now? You want me to give them you want to get them that for Christmas? You're going to go get your kid a gun since you're so.
A video game gun or a BB gun or something just to perfect their precision and accuracy, possibly.
An assault
Not necessarily
rifle? An assault rifle? Would you like them to have an assault rifle?
Maybe a replica or some sort of soft target version of the same thing, which I had as a kid.
No,
I had a I had a Uzi that made
that you don't believe.
I had
Stop promoting things you don't
with
believe.
no red
You're not
tip
going to get
that
your
made
kids
sound
that
effects.
gun.
I played cops and robbers. I was the only.
That'd be crazy. Listen, please. I mean, come on. Really, you're gonna get your kid an assault rifle, not a replica, not a toy gun.
Let's go look at Barack Obama playing water guns with his kids around the pool.
Guns are not.
It teaches you precision and accuracy, just the same as a bow and arrow would. My kids play with bow and arrow.
D-Lake.
Oh, look, you looked up the loophole. It exists.
Yeah,
oh, my God.
Just like the Hunter games.
You're being really ridiculous. You don't believe you wouldn't get your kids both. You wouldn't get both your kids an assault rifle for Christmas. You're being absolutely ridiculous. Promoting things that you don't even believe.
Or an assault rifle that shoots water or BBs or soft.
That's not bullets. That's not a real gun. That's not
what
a real
about
gun.
Sam, go ahead.
If you had any idea how to use an assault rifle, I think you'd probably be more likely to try to show your kid how to use one. Am I correct?
That's a good point. Some people aren't even trained. You're right. That should be a regulation.
What about a video game? What about a video game?
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about video games.
My kids play video games, and I would get them a shooter.
That's fine.
I'm old enough now.
That's right. It's not going to kill somebody. There's not real bullets in it.
You've always had to be trained to learn how to.
Yeah, but you have to know how to use it in case of emergency.
So why don't you know how to use one? Do you have an assault rifle? Do you have a gun? You're promoting this on your show, and you don't have a gun. Kids don't have a gun, and you're saying it's okay. I mean, stop promoting things you don't believe. Put your money where your mouth is. Where's your gun?
I don't have kids, but I have children in my family, And if they were allowed from their parents to have a gun, you're damn straight I'll say it on air, I would buy them a gun. Would I show them how to use an assault rifle if I knew how to use it, which I don't? You're damn straight I would. If their parents okayed it. Yes. I'll say it on air. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, but your parents had a gun. D-Lake is saying that I'm asking him a question. He's answering with the water guns and video games.
Our answer is yes. Absolutely.
Yes,
well,
but
what's
you're
the
different.
question?
You said your parents
What's
have a
the
gun.
question that I'm not answering?
You're not answering it, D-Lake.
You already answered it. You already answered it.
If your
You're
kid
being
wanted to learn how to
hypocritical.
shoot an assault rifle, would you get him one responsibly? Not would you buy it off the thug down the street? I know that. Would you?
It's the
Or a
question.
water
It's
gun.
the question: should my kids be trained in marksmanship and accuracy and
An AK.
precision and gun or
Oh, what about their safety?
Yes.
What about their safety? Not a sport, not an Olympic sport, but like for safety. You keep saying people should have guns for safety. Do you have a gun for your own safety? Do you want your children? You want to get your kids a gun this Christmas for their safety?
At my house.
What?
I am protected
What?
by guns at my house.
And you own these guns?
There's guns.
And they're like water guns and Nerf guns and everything. That's how you answered the question before. You said that.
That's how I would train my kids to be proficient with guns. I'm an adult. I have guns here. Okay. I'm not. Am I gonna run and unlock and show? No. But I am protected by guns, and I don't have a problem with that. It's my constitutional right to protect myself and my inhabitants.
There is a band member that has a concealed carry in our band. And if he is drinking, our manager is the one who has the gun, usually not on him, but has access to it since he usually does not drink. The band is fully armed, and I say this because sometimes minors work with us. They help us load, unload, Craigslist, whatever. Never had a problem. Never once had a problem. And we have
But
guns.
you're all adults. My
Some of
point
them are
was.
not. No, some
Look,
of
the
them.
kids are trained. The
Some of
kids are
our
trained in gun simulate.
Some of
The,
our
gun,
road crew isn't. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. It depends where we're going. We have different people that help us in different cities.
the kids are trained in gun simulation so that when they're adults, they know what they're doing, and it's a responsible training mechanism that's part of American culture. I don't see what the problem is.
I'm not going to leave. Now, keep in mind, the 16-year-old I'm talking about, his father is well aware that this occurs. I'm not going to leave a 16-year-old buy a band gear while we're ripping stuff down. And again, this happens less now that we're signed, so I'm kind of going back in a time machine here. Where there were like 5 of us doing this, I'm not leaving a kid by the gear van without knowing where the gun is. I don't care if he's 16 or not, because that's a nice way to get yourself jumped and robbed and shot. And they were instances where minors were well aware of where the gun was, and never did I have a problem with it. And it was for their safety as well, because sometimes in the back of clubs, you just don't know.
Okay, but when you get a car license, when you get a car driver's license, you have to take a written test. You have to take a test and show them you know how to drive a car. A car can be like you could hit somebody with a car. That could be a weapon. I mean, people even go to jail for that.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to carry your gun unless you're trained. You're just allowed to own it in your house.
They don't say, oh, do you know, they don't say, oh, wait, you have to take a written test and let's see each person use this gun.
Well,
they don't do that. They do that for cars.
The problem with that is
and they register. You have to register your car.
I can tell you where that falls apart, and that's where collectors come in. Let's say D-Lake, I don't know what gun D-Lake has, but let's pretend it's a Smith & Wesson. If he decides to be a gun collector and he buys a Orishnikov or a musket, he might not know how to use it if he's a collector. Making somebody know how to use every gun that they own would be absolutely impossible, because there are some collectors don't shoot.
But you're saying you want to use, first of all, you're saying that these people, the concealed carry gun is not an assault weapon. I mean, each bullet that comes out of there is like a single shot. It's not 50 rounds that comes out.
Yeah, but
and the guns you're concealed.
If you're dealing with a flash mob.
You're not going to carry. Okay, so your band is carrying around assault rifles at your concerts.
We
I mean,
would. We would if we could afford it. I wouldn't be against having one in the car. It'd be fine with me. But there's only
that's
one.
ridiculous. Most people.
But there's
When
only
you're
one of
talking
us.
about
An Uzi or something.
There's only one of us that know how to use it. If you don't know how to use it, you're just going to get your ass kicked. Is my
But
point.
how do you know that each person? You keep telling me that each person is trained and knows how to use a gun who owns a gun. Well, let's make sure. Let's give them a written test. Let's give them a test with somebody and make sure that they do know how to use the gun before they're allowed to have it. No, you go to a gun show and you fill out the paperwork and say they do check. They don't really check. There is a loophole at gun shows. But say you go to a store and they put in and you don't have a felony, you walk out with that gun. They didn't say first go out back and we have a trained professional. Then you have to make sure you take a test.
But if you don't have a concealed carry, if you don't have a concealed carry, you're only allowed to have it in your car and in your house.
But how do you know that these people know how to use it? Maybe your friend knows how to use their gun, but not every Joe Schmo out there who buys a gun knows how to use it and is a responsible person. Just like driving a car. You could say, well, I've been driving since I was 16. I know how to drive a car. But that's why there's a test.
Right. Driving is not a constitutional right. Driving isn't a right given to you by God.
This isn't by God. The Constitution was crafted by people. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Inalienable rights bestowed upon you from the Creator in the Constitution.
It's a well-regulated. That's the first 3 words of the Second Amendment. A well-regulated. It's not everybody and their mother is allowed to, and their children are allowed to have a gun.
The government, and it's regulated if you know who has it and you know where they are. If someone doesn't know how to use a gun in their own house, who gives a damn? The worst they're going to do.
Because they could shoot you. They could hurt your kids. They could hurt your mother, your father. They could hurt anybody. I mean,
it's in their own house. You're not allowed to carry it anywhere else otherwise.
You just said your friend has a concealed carry gun. Your friend has a concealed carry gun. Maybe he knows how to use it.
He had to take a shit test. He had to shoot the gun.
Now, in other states, I just came from West Virginia. Look up their gun laws. Look up their gun laws. This was a big contention over there. You go over to another state. This is why it's not good to have different states believe in different things. You guys don't really realize. You only know what's in your own state. You go traveling, there's different laws in different states. I mean, it's a lot easier to own a gun in West Virginia.
States with a gun. West Virginia, you know what? West Virginia has a lot less crime than states that don't.
Oh, listen.
I mean, Emory, you keep saying, I
guarantee Chicago has a lot more violence with their gun bans than West Virginia does. I promise you.
But if you are so confident in each gun owner knowing how to shoot their gun, then don't be opposed to them having more regulation on these people and making sure that they are right to own a gun.
The government does
not everybody.
The government does not dole out rights. You are born with rights. It is not up to the government. You are born with them.
I mean, they have gun licensing. They have background checks. They have those things. I mean, for you to suggest at one point, like you did, that your gun rights don't start until you're 18, like I said, like pornography or 21 when you can smoke and drink now in San Diego. I mean, you keep saying a well-regulated, it's a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not, another comma.
Okay, and you know what I'd like to say about that?
We're going to interpret the Constitution here? I mean, the right of the people.
Okay.
To keep and bear arms
that's what people do. They interpret the Constitution. That's what judicial nominees do. Listen, a well-regulated militia, just think back then. That we didn't have a national army when this was written. So a well-regulated militia, yeah, they had to regulate it. They didn't want people coming from England and attacking us. And
it applies to every
militia,
neighborhood. It applies to every neighborhood formed since the Constitution.
Let me finish my point, please.
A militia is a neighborhood.
A militia is a small army of people, and people are taking this militia in our country, And that would be called treason. If you form a band of renegade people who have guns.
I said it's a neighborhood. I said nothing of renegades.
Fine. Well, a group of people with guns, and you want to go against the U.S. Army or go against our president, and you start
just
shooting?
said there was no U.S. Army back then. So what are you saying?
I'm saying in today's society, there are people out there who think that they have militias. There's some crazy people out there who think that they need to form their own militia. And it's crazy because that's called treason and they'll be shot on the spot. We don't need militias in today's societies. We have an army today. This was written back then when we didn't have a national army.
We need militias.
We don't need a militia.
Have you heard of FEMA camps? We absolutely need militias because when they start locking people up in FEMA camps, the militias are going to be the only thing between us and the army. You're damn straight.
That's called treason, Sam.
And the moment they try to put me in a FEMA camp, commit me for treason because I'm damn straight committing it. The moment
they'll shoot you. The government will shoot you for treason. That's crazy.
How will they shoot you? Where did they get the guns from?
Because you're
I'll put this on air. The moment they try to put me or my family in a FEMA camp, I will commit treason. Yes. Yes.
No.
People are doing.
You guys are expanding the definition.
You're
expanding the definition of treason, both of you. You're conflating the definition.
No, if you go against the government, and today there are bands of people out there, they're really crazy. There's some crazy people out there that believe that they have their own little militia, that they need one because the world will end. And, if they go up against the government or police or anything, we have an army. We have a national army. We don't need a militia. And they start shooting at that army. That's called treason, and the army doesn't want to shoot it.
Militia means neighborhood, and that's to protect you.
Treason is the only option. When that army turns against the people, treason is the only option. And
don't you think that sounds a little crazy?
No,
we have a national army.
It's not really treason, though. It's patriotism because
that sounds a little crazy.
What? Patriotism to go against your own army? I mean, I have relatives in the army.
No.
You don't believe?
We have to protect.
We don't need
all enemies. Look, we have to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic. If we have a domestic tyranny, it's our right as American citizens, with our right to bear arms under the Second Amendment, to revolt against a tyrannical government. That's why we have the right to bear arms, is to protect us against a tyrannical government, foreign or domestic.
You sound like absolutely nuts today. I mean, you sound absolutely crazy. I can't believe we're having a conversation.
I sound like the definition of the Constitution and the forefathers of the United States of America. How is that crazy? No, that's exactly the point.
You would let them herd you into a FEMA camp like a sheep.
Nobody's going to do that. That's crazy.
That's what they said.
Nobody is going to do that? That's crazy? It's crazy to say that nobody's going to do that, and that's crazy.
Why do you think the FEMA camps are there?
If they started to do it right after they confiscated all the guns, how would you protect yourself against that?
And how are they going to? They have to repeal. They have to either repeal the Second Amendment by a 2/3 majority
that Hillary
in Congress,
wants to do with her election to the Supreme Court, which is what Donald Trump means when he talks about her wanting to abolish the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she can't do that. And they can't do it either. I just told you how they have to do it. No.
All her executive orders. Yeah.
Crazy. I don't even want to be part of this show anymore. If you really don't want to talk about facts, I mean, you sound like a crazy right wing. I mean, this is like nutty. I've never heard you guys talk like this nutty before, and it's like scary.
Am I going nutty, or is it Sam?
I might be nutty, but if they try to take me to a FEMA camp, sign me up for treason, because I'll put my name in bold letters. I'll even print so the bastards can read it. I'm dead serious.
Sam, let's give Amory the floor here. I want her to be a part of this show, and you do too. Amory, please get out your thoughts right now.
I already did. You just won't listen. And I don't believe.
No, I'm saying I'm introducing you to take the floor so that I can listen and understand more where you're coming from. Please.
Well, I don't even know where the show is coming from. I think you know, I think Sam does believe what he says. He said that his parents owned a gun, this and that. I think you're like promoting views that you don't believe, D Lake. I don't think that you would get, we were talking about two things, assault rifles, and we were talking about age restrictions, and you brought up like,
and I brought up that I brought up that I wouldn't age restrict, and I wouldn't restrict the caliber of weapon.
Assault rifles. And
I wouldn't restrict that in any way. If you want assault rifles,
I asked
you can have them.
See, you won't even let me talk. I asked you a specific question, if you would do this yourself and get your kids an assault rifle at their age they are now, which is young. And you said you started talking about water guns and video games, and that's not the question. Assault rifles, and you know it's ridiculous. You're a parent,
okay, then
and you know it's ridiculous.
Then the answer is no. The straight up answer is no, but I would get them. But I would get them something similar that's virtually the same thing. That's my answer.
It's not the same thing. A real gun is not the same thing as a water gun. And I'm glad you finally said that.
No, I said earlier that it's about learning marksmanship, precision, and accuracy is what I said, and I'm standing by that statement. I want them to learn. Look, if they're playing a video game, I want them to be the fastest and the best and the most precise and the most accurate. I want them to have excellent hand-eye coordination. I want them to hit the bullseye every time. What is wrong with that, Amory? And then when they're older, if they pick up a firearm or if they pick up a semi-automatic weapon.
When they're older.
When I feel that they're old to have that.
Yes.
Yeah, but when I feel they're old enough might be 15, and you're saying, I'm sorry, D-Lake, it can't be until they're 18.
D-Lake, listen, I'm telling you that I don't want to say anything hypocritical. I want to say what I believe, and I do believe, and you know this, that the government should regulate. I believe even corporations, big corporations, the government should regulate more. And yes, I do believe that the government should regulate guns more, and these assault rifles, under George H.W. Bush's presidency, that Congress did this, and the ban expired after 10 years. This happened in 1994. So, I mean, I'm just trying to say facts. I'm not trying to say some right-wing crazy stuff.
I'm for sunsetting laws.
And I just don't want to hear, you say things that are, like, not what you believe, because then that, like, upsets me, because I don't want to promote people buying guns, assault rifles for their kids. I want us to make it clear that we don't believe in this. We don't believe in giving a little kid an assault rifle. And like you said, water guns, fine.
But I kind of do, though. I mean, I kind of do, though.
Not for your own children, but for other people's children.
If you're that parent, who's the parent of the 12-year-old with the 12-year-old young girl marksman on the obstacle course? Who's that girl's parent? He's obviously a good parent to her that she's so good at that. So
and you can't trust that every single person in this country
That's not hypocritical for me to come out and say what I support. But you're trying to put on me that I'm being hypocritical.
Because if you won't do it for your own children, then think about it. And how could you say that every person?
It's my own form of parenting.
Exactly. But listen to
no, but I'm not trying to prescribe a universal form of parenting because that's government tyranny. Sam, help me out here. I'm losing this argument. Emery, I don't know. I'm being clever.
Some parents will choose to give their children weapons at younger ages. That is up to the parent in every possible way. If you as a parent...
Assault rifle, though, Sam. I'm talking about assault rifles. That's ridiculous. There should be a regulation.
You know what? AR doesn't even stand for assault rifle. That's a name people put on a gun with big bullets. So basically, a gun with big bullets should be allowed.
That's for Armalite.
They should be allowed. Yeah, AR doesn't even. Yeah, like D-Like said, AR doesn't even stand for assault rifle.
But they should be tested. They should be like a car. You should have a test. You're not given a test before you buy a gun. You should be tested.
It is up to
and licensed.
And it is up. You have to be tested. And it is up to the parent to decide whether or not the kid can take that test. I don't think anybody should be allowed to sign your kid up for an AR-57 test, But if another parent, my neighbor, decides that he wants his kid to learn how to use an AR-15, then I don't have a problem with that either. For one thing, I think a lot of it depends on whether or not the parent themselves would be more comfortable with a smaller gun or a larger gun. It also depends on where you live. I just posted a video of flash mobs of like 30 people coming into stores in the United States and just swarming the owner. That doesn't happen with an AR-15. So, an AK-47, I mean. That doesn't happen with that. So I don't have a problem with maybe that owner saying, you know what, my 16-year-old son works in this store. I go to the bank. I leave him by himself. I'm going to teach him how to use an AK. I've got no problem with that.
All right. Well, I mean, it is a matter of parenting, but I just looked up this video and I brought up the sound so we could play a little bit. She's not 12, actually. She's 13. I think this is the video that I was describing earlier in the show.
I think
but then there's an amazing 9-year-old competitive shooter. Emery, how old was the girl that just won the gold medal in the Olympics for shooting?
West Virginia. She's from West Virginia, by the way.
And how old is she?
Let me just say this. Can I just say this point real quick before we move on? Is that the thing is you are giving examples of people you know. Sam is giving an example of someone in his band that carries a concealed weapon who is a responsible adult or just a responsible person. And then I hear about Matt Winklejohn. Each show I hear about how great Matt Winklejohn is, and now you've also talked about Matt Winklejohn's children. Let me just finish.
Wait. Real quick. Wait, once I'm not interrupting you, I want to clarify this for the show. With guns, we disagree on some things politically in terms of guns, but go ahead.
But I mean, I really don't know. You can always talk more about that. But I just wanted to say, these people you personally know and are saying are very responsible. I'm not saying that they're not responsible people. Matt Winklejohn is probably a great guy, a great person. I've never met him. I've never spoke to him. I've barely watched videos even of your old shows with Matt Winklejohn. And I'm sure he does know what he's doing with a gun. And maybe his kids, he taught them well too. And that's great. But what I'm saying is not every person in this country who isn't a felon, who can own a gun, person. Not everybody out there is special like Matt Winklejohn, and who is very good with a gun and teaches his children responsibility and is a responsible gun owner. And I think that's great that Matt Winklejohn is a great gun owner and a responsible adult and trustworthy with a gun. I'm not against people owning guns. I'm not against Matt Winklejohn not owning a gun. I think, like I said, he's probably a great guy. He probably knows how to shoot a gun, and that's great. But, and I would love for him, if he actually watches, this show anymore, to like respond. Does he believe that every single person out there who, isn't a felon, is a responsible person? And I think that not every, and I lived in Texas and I knew some gun owners, and my ex-boyfriend had guns and this and that. The thing is, and he hunted with them, and he actually ate the meat and everything like that. But my point is that not every person in this country should have a gun. Not every person is a responsible adult, even an adult. Now, my 2 points.
It's not up to the government to decide who is a responsible adult. I don't want the government making that decision.
But isn't every person in America innocent until proven guilty? So
that's after they shoot up someplace. I think we should have a little bit more regulation on two things.
Then you're guilty of.
I want two things.
You're guilty of that, but you're innocent otherwise. And you're teaching your kids to use guns. It's all innocent until they do something that they're proven guilty for.
Well, I've never seen on the internet, I've never seen anybody bring up age when they talk about gun laws or assault rifles and what age.
Yeah, you want to know why? Because that's an infringement on the Second Amendment to bring in age restrictions is an infringement. That's why you never hear about it.
We have a restriction in this country about driving a car. I mean, even if you're too old, do you know, even if you're like 90, I mean, sometimes they take away people's driver's licenses. I mean, but there's definitely age restrictions about even getting a driver's permit. You have to bring your birth certificate and everything. You have to prove how old you are. There's age restrictions for a reason, because they don't think you're responsible enough yet until you're 16 to get a driver's permit, and you still have to drive like with a parent and, you know, in a car, and then you have to get a license. You have to register your car. I mean, that's what they should do with guns. They should regulate it a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying I'm anti-gun, but the reason why is because not everybody out there who says, oh, I can drive a car. I played a video game where I drove a car. I drove in the Grand Prix. I know how to drive a sports car. But the thing is, it's responsible.
Just real quickly to your point, Anne-Marie, I did this for my kids because I remember doing it with my dad. But like basically, like I couldn't tell you the exact age, but I used to sit on my dad's lap and do the steering wheel while he did the gas and brake in the car. And that's kind of how I learned. Even before I was old enough to start learning how to drive a car, I was kind of already learning how to drive a car. I had driven the truck a few times, you know, 12, 13, 14, you know.
That's cute.
And
you know,
Alan Jackson was so you want to put the age restriction on guns, and meanwhile
please let me say this.
Marksman.
Wait, please let me say this, because it completely addresses Anne-Marie's point. In every way, it is not legal to drive a car on the road as a minor, but it is perfectly legal to drive one on your own property, in which case it would apply to guns as well.
But a lot of people, now I know in Texas, a lot of people go shooting at other places. Like they actually had like people.
Agreed, but at the haunted house down the road, they have people riding motorcycles that are under 18. Perfectly legal. 16.
But I know that people have done that in Texas. I know that like even he went, like when he was younger and went shooting with his parents. Father was shooting. I mean, it was like a boys' weekend on property that was somebody else's property.
Real quick, should we go look it up? How old was that girl that just won the gold medal?
I think she was like, was she a teenager? She was like 16 or 15 or 16 or 17. I don't know, something like that. She looked like a teenager.
2016 girl.
But what my 2 points is assault rifles, and you know, age. I do think that there should be that, but really? I mean,
here we
well,
go.
I do, and I don't think that sounds ridiculous to you.
Girl.
Like,
you asked for it. Here it is. Now we're commenting, so we don't want to get a strike on our YouTube from Mr. Break Paradise or anyone else.
I think you were right. She had to have been 12 when she started this deal. Like, she had to have been.
I thought she was 12, but now it says she's 13. Here we go.
Yeah, but she didn't run out overnight, so she started at 12.
This happened on her birthday, but I'm sure
But this is the girl from West Virginia that won the gold medal. I thought she was older. I mean, I think she was like 15. It was like look up the girl who won the gold from West Virginia. I think she was like 15 or 16.
Yeah,
she was older than that.
Yeah, it's Jeannie Thrasher. Won the gold.
She looks like a teenager. She's 19.
Yeah, this is another girl. This is Caitlin Francis. 13 years.
Yeah, she's 19, but in order to get that good, she had to start that when she was like 12, 14. I mean, she had to start it really young if she won at 19.
Right, but my point is that not every person in this country is a responsible person.
And I mean, it's not up for the government to decide who is. You're allowed to drive a car on private property.
But that's to protect us.
I mean,
government regulations are there to protect us. I mean, do you want your kid to go into a McDonald's and there's a 13-year-old that has a fight with somebody else and starts shooting? What if your kid has a fight with somebody else who has a gun and they're not mentally, mature enough? I mean, come on.
I wouldn't have a problem with my kid having a gun if I had one.
That's an example of an irresponsible gun user. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about responsible gun ownership and using.
That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah,
that's not what I was saying at all. You're missing my whole point. I said that Matt Winklejohn, you keep giving me an example of responsible gun owners. I'm saying, well, what about the ones who aren't responsible gun owners?
Innocent until guilty.
Yeah, but how do you identify them?
Okay, well, let me just make this point. Up until a few months ago, people who were found guilty in court of a misdemeanor offense of domestic violence, who were proven to harm someone else and have anger issues and enough problems that they go to jail and they have to go through, I mean, they were found guilty. They had to go through the court and they were found guilty, were allowed to own guns. This is up until just a few months ago. This was in the news and we didn't cover it. But this is a misdemeanor offense of domestic violence. That is a misdemeanor offense in this country. Now, only recently, within the last couple of months, are they not allowed to buy a gun. That's only within the last few months. So, that should have been a government regulation, and the government did not regulate that a few months ago. That's because of the courts finally doing something about that. And then eventually, yes, it went up, and it was through the courts, and went to the Supreme Court.
That's how it's supposed to be done. Government has no say. The courts are allowed to do that. Government should have no say.
But that's what Trump is saying Hillary Clinton wants to do, is appoint these nominees, because that's what happens. It goes through the courts all the way up to the Supreme Court.
She's going to do it by executive order and then not be called to the floor by the people.
She can't. It's a lie. That's a lie. That's what I'm trying to say. That's my point. It's a lie.
That's how
it is.
That's how tyrannies have taken over all through history.
No, but Sam, you're not listening to me. The assault rifle ban that happened in 1994 happened because of Congress. That was under George H.W. Bush. There was a 10-year ban on assault.
That would have never happened. We were. That was an example of Congress running amok, trampling
Right, but that's how it happened, because of Congress, and I'm saying that's how it would happen again.
Yeah,
it would
Democrats. Like Clinton.
But that was in 1994 under George H.W. Bush.
George H.W. Bush did not like it. Democrats did it. The Democrats in Congress did that.
But if they didn't like it, then they would have changed it. Think about it. We've had Republican.
The Democrats are socialists.
Dominating Congress. The Republicans have been. The ban expired after 10 years. The Republicans didn't do anything about it. They just let the ban expire. But they could have. But if they really wanted it, then they would have.
Shall not be infringed.
But you could either repeal it or make a new amendment. So the Republican Congress, when they were dominating it, think about it, they didn't let anything Obama wanted pass. Remember that? Because they were the dominating number. And they didn't do anything. They didn't repeal the Second Amendment. They didn't make a new amendment. I mean, they didn't do anything about this assault rifle. They could have made a new thing about it. They didn't.
Because they didn't infringe.
Well, all I'm saying is it just expired after 10 years. Nobody really.
Sunset clause. Yeah, you're allowed to put a sunset clause on a thing. They're always the sunset clauses. They don't go on forever.
Donald Trump was actually bringing up just that last week about sunset clauses and how he would like to basically have them in, as many bills as we can, just so that it comes up for, sort of a new vote, a new analysis. And I mean, I think that's what Anne-Marie is doing in a way, is looking at some things that have sunsetted or retired and saying that, so-and-so was for this. And look, I don't want to try to define. Anne-Marie, you made a lot of excellent points, and our viewership actually goes up when you're talking, and then people drop out when I start talking. So I think we need to give Anne-Marie the floor more. How did you guys feel this week? I mean, last weekend, Hillary Clinton said that half of Donald Trump supporters belong in a basket of deplorables, the racists, the homophobics, the xenophobics, the Islamophobics, fill in the blank, whatever else, just call them what you want. Trump hit back pretty hard. She walked it back enough to say that it was a gross generalization and she shouldn't have said, quote unquote, half. And in parentheses, it's because she meant all. So she called the Republican, and she called Donald Trump's base, more importantly, or more specifically, she called half of Donald Trump's base deplorable. She called the other half wanting change and wanting something new and not knowing where to go. I think they know where to go. It's towards Trump, the change agent in this election. If you parallel this year's election of 2008, Trump is more like Obama. Hillary is more like McCain. Obama is more like George Bush. We just want him out of there. We want change. We want something new. It seems to be Trump. It's not going to be Clinton because that's the same thing. That's where I see those parallels. I don't know if you want to address that part, but let's address that. I already discussed how Hillary brought the term deplorables and basket of deplorables into existence in this race. The Trump campaign hit back hard. They pounced on it, so to speak, and they claimed that. And now Trump supporters everywhere are saying, I'm deplorable, I'm with the deplorables. And to me, it's kind of like black people adopting nigga. Okay? And among us niggas, we can call each other nigga, but don't you white people call us niggers because that's racist and offensive. Among the Republicans, we can claim the deplorable label and say, thank you, we are deplorable. But for you Democrats to just straight out call us deplorable at your fancy elite meetings with Barbara Streisand and crew and say we belong in a basket and separate humans into baskets with your elitism, like, thank you. Thank you very much. Fine. I'm happy to be in this basket. Call me deplorable. In other words, they're claiming that name as their own, and only we can call each other deplorable, but you can't call us deplorable. Do you guys see that metaphor as well? And how do you feel about it, Sam? Go ahead. Are you deplorable, Sam? You were at the rally last week in Ohio. Were you among the deplorables?
I am most utterly deplorable and proud of it. It reminds me, you used the nigga analogy. What it reminded me of, and it was funny because it was also music. It was just a completely different kind of music. Right. Like, if you can, real quick, look up 9 Inch Nails, Now I'm Nothing. When 9 Inch Nails first came out, they released 1 million T-shirts. I don't know if it's really 1 million, but
9 Inch Nails, what, Sam?
Now I'm Nothing.
Now or Nothing?
When 9 Inch Nails first came, Now I'm Nothing. Oh, close enough. When 9 Inch Nails first came out, that was emblazoned on all of their gear. In other words, it was sort of a, hey, F you. There's nothing you can say about me. Oh, you guys are dirty goth fans, dirty rock. You're nothing. You'll never be anything. 9 Inch Nails put it on their shirts, and you wore it proudly like a great big one-finger salute to all of authority. And everyone that looked down on you. I had like 10 of those shirts. I don't know how many are still around. But it reminds me of that. Yeah, go ahead and call me that because I'm not budging from what I believe. That's what it reminded me of.
And what is 9 Inch Nails, N-I-N, with the second N in reverse, but instead of 9 Inch Nails, it's Now I'm Nothing. What does plus terrible lie mean? Is that a musical thing that I'm unaware of, Sam?
9 Inch Nails briefly had a song called Now I'm Nothing, which became Terrible Lie when it got taken from the demo where it was called Now I'm Nothing. On CD, the name was changed to Terrible Lie. But he still kept the Now I'm Nothing as a great big F-U to people that would say that you were nothing. You sort of wore it like a badge of honor. Like now
but you picked up on, like, I made a metaphor, then you sort of related it to this, and it does kind of make sense. I mean, Anne-Marie, and how do you feel about Trump supporters picking up on deplorable to sort of use that as their own brand to say, yeah, you call me deplorable, fine, I'm deplorable, and I will take that. And keep in mind, everyone, that when Trump was in Miami this week, he came out on Trump Miami deplorable. When Trump came out on stage this week, Anne-Marie, he came out to the theme from Les Miserables, whatever, but
Yeah.
it was Les Deplorables. I don't know how to say that in French, but the Deplorables, Trump flag, they reconstituted the imagery to add, bald eagles and American flags and Trump flags, and they came out to that music. And the fans, the crowd went into a quote unquote frenzy of excitement. And you saw that, Ann? How did you feel about it? How do you feel? But how do you feel like where we are right now talking like? But how do you feel about the Trump campaign sort of picking up on this statement from Hillary and running with it? How do you feel about that part of it?
And that's what he does. I mean, he keeps his name in the headlines, and this is a catchy phrase, and they think they're badass. And some of the people really are deplorable.
Oh.
I mean, some of the people are racist that he likes. You could go back to even violence at Trump rallies earlier. There was a black guy that was kicked out. I even have his name here. It was like in Fayetteville, North Carolina. You could look up his name. He was ejected. He wasn't protesting. He wasn't demonstrating. This was at the beginning of, like when Trump had his rallies in North Carolina. This was like months ago. And he was kicked out just for being black. I mean, he wasn't protesting. He wasn't demonstrating. He was thrown out anyway. And after being escorted down the stairs, a middle-aged white man confronted him with 3 FUs and slapped him in the face. So let's not forget that. That's a deplorable person. That, and not only that person who said that,
but that's not a racist. He was
a person who spits in someone's face and slaps them in the face.
He was a vet, and they disrespected the flag. Now, I'm not sticking up for the vet. That vet should go to prison. That was an assault. I want to say, not prison. Jail. That was an assault. I'm not making excuses.
This guy was sitting there. He didn't disrespect the flag.
It was not racist. Yes,
it was.
No.
It's this guy. Look up this guy's name, D-Lake, right now for me. I will spell it for you.
Racist.
This guy was not protesting. He wasn't demonstrating. He was just keen to experience the event. Look at this name right now.
If it's the story,
I mean, there are racists. There are racists out there who like Trump, and they are deplorable.
Well, there are more racists.
There
are far more racist in Black Lives Matter on the other side than there are the handful of deplorables on the right.
Those people are not racist. The Black Lives Matter. I keep saying this every show. They are getting shot. Innocent people are getting shot by police officers, and
they're not innocent.
Yes, they are. Oh, Trayvon Martin was innocent.
Store.
What did he do? He got Skittles and an iced tea, and he got shot. I mean, think about it.
He also pushed the store owner out of the way and charged a cop.
That's not true. And even if that was true, he should be shot and killed by police officers. Black people are getting
yes. If you charge a cop, you're going to be shot and killed by the police officer, no matter what color you are. I promise you. If you charge an officer of the law, you're going to be shot by that officer.
But it's okay if you're in a militia. It's okay if you form a militia and
I might shoot you too, regardless of you. If someone charges me, I might shoot them, and I don't care what color they are. If they're charging me like they're going to attack me, I'm going to shoot them. Militia, cop, civilian.
Then you'll get shot and killed. That's what you just said. You said that that's why he got shot and killed, because he charged
a cop. Yes, if I charge a cop, he's going to shoot my white ass too.
But he didn't. He never did. He went and bought Skittles at a gas station. He walked home, and this guy shot him.
It was proven.
You guys are mixing. Are you guys mixing cases? Because it sounds like Anne-Marie's talking about Trayvon Martin, and it sounds like Sam is talking about Marvin Brown.
I'm talking about Martin attacked.
That's on film. That guy's on film getting shot in the back.
Martin attacked Silverman. I'll tell you what. Whoever the next Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon is Zimmerman, and Brown is the case. And
the guy who got shot in the back. The guy who got shot in the back is Brown, and he got shot in the back by a police officer. It's on film.
In the
and
back?
Trayvon Martin went to.
It's not on film.
Not get shot in the back. That is totally on
He did not get shot in the back, and it's not on film. And he didn't have his hands up, and he wasn't saying.
Who's the guy? Wait. Who's the guy who got shot in the back that's on film? What was his name? See, we can't even keep up with how many there are.
Because Brown had it coming and Trayvon had it coming. So far, that's two that had it coming.
How did Trayvon have it coming? Because he went to go get
Zimmerman's head off the ground. If you bounce my head off the ground, I'm going to fucking cap you. I guarantee.
Okay,
That's
guys,
not true.
Guys.
It is true.
Zimmerman wasn't a cop. Zimmerman was a citizen. Guys, slow down. You're conflating like 10 cases.
And how was he racist? He was Latino.
Well, just for my protection, guys. I mean, or for our protection as a show, we're conflating like 20 cases. So if you want to combine cases, just consolidate your point to one point. Don't put it towards a specific case because we don't have enough time to analyze them all. Anne-Marie, what's your main point? And then Sam, your main point. Go ahead.
Well, my main point is that Black people in this country there is racism in this country, and they are getting attacked. And yes, Zimmerman was not a cop, but he thought he was a cop, and that was race related because there was this Black kid who was walking around his neighborhood, and he was like, "What is he doing?" And why did he stand out? Because the kid was Black.
Wait.
I mean,
what's he doing? Just
that's Zimmerman,
like
and that's not a
the racist Latino.
This just sounds
he
like
was walking home from a grocery store.
Dude, if someone's
okay,
doing
so
shit in my neighborhood, I don't care what color they are. It's just quote unquote suspicious. It's not quote unquote racist.
D-League, when you come home from 7-Eleven, which you go to constantly, you have to worry about getting shot by somebody. I mean, come on, you're going to 7-Eleven, you get a snack.
Creepy. There's creeps. I've had creep type experiences in my neighborhood. I don't live in a paradise of perfect, not have to worry about getting shot neighborhood, Anne-Marie.
Neither do I.
Okay.
Anne-Marie,
I'm saying that
live in the same city, but I live closer to where D-Lake lives. I'm down here by 12th and Fulton. I'm with D-Lake.
I mean, just walking to the store
is
not a magical, no worries excursion. I mean, you're like, yeah, you go to the place all the time. Yeah, and every time I do, like, it's not safety guaranteed. I don't live in that neighborhood.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if you are just, and I'm talking generally.
It's on Oklahoma Boulevard, by the way, people, if you want to look it up.
If you're Black in this country and you are targeted, that's funny because I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny, and I do think the police.
No, it doesn't matter if you're Black or white walking to the store. It's the same thing. The risk is the same.
Cops don't look at me any better because I'm white. I guarantee they don't.
Well, they are getting shot by police officers, and that's why Black Lives Matter exists.
Because
first, I'm trying to talk about the first thing I'm trying to say.
At an exuberantly high rate.
All right, let's
Okay, my first point is that racism exists in this country. It does exist in this country. That's why I was bringing up Trayvon Martin, because that was racist, and he was targeted because he was Black. He didn't do anything wrong. I don't believe he did anything wrong. And he's shot and killed. Now, what I'm saying is racism exists in this country. My second point now from that is that in this country, people who are Black are getting stopped by police officers. And now this is why Black Lives Matter is here and trying to yell at the rooftops to bring, shine a light on this, that they're sick of Black people getting shot and killed by police officers. In this country, even if you do something wrong, you're supposed to be arrested, and then they're supposed to have evidence. In fact, some cases even get thrown out of court, but you don't get shot and killed. And that's why Black Lives Matter exists, because one, there's racism in this country. And two, yes, these people are getting shot by police officers. And Black Lives Matter is a movement that is trying to bring some light onto the subject. And I mean, and there's people, I've read some crazy things online. Racism does exist in this country. In fact, I mean, you should see the video, like Bill O'Reilly wrote a book, and he has the history of America all wrong. And I wish you would like show a clip of this. Maybe next year you can, because this just came out this week. Of I think it was
I don't want to be associated with Bill O'Reilly.
Right,
yeah, I agree. I agree.
No,
I agree that racism exists. I agree.
Let me address the 2 points. First of all, there is no fucking racism in America to any major number. I'm sure there's just as many on the right side as the top side. Second of all, Trayvon Martin absolutely had it coming. He's walking around the neighborhood. He bounced Zimmerman's head off the concrete. Zimmerman did not look at him because he was black. He looked at him because he didn't know who the hell he was in his neighborhood. Crime statistics in America, Inquisitor. Police killings of blacks down by 70% in the last 50 years. In 2012, 123 blacks were killed by police with a gun. In 2012, 326 whites were killed by police with a gun. End of fucking story.
I don't know, Sam, if that's the end of the story. I definitively covered what my thoughts of the Trayvon Martin case at the time. It was actually like 3-4 years ago going on it now, and we don't know all the cases of that. Like I did say, Zimmerman wasn't a cop. He was a neighborhood watch guy. If Martin did something suspicious, I'm sure that's why he says he responded. Zimmerman has gone on to do all kinds of wacky domestic violence shit that just tarnishes the fact that he got off from...
Well, I thought he should have been locked up for other stuff, not Trayvon. I thought he should have been locked up for the stuff that he did afterwards, because he's not really
He murdered an innocent life. And listen, I watched that show, and I hated that show. I hated that show.
He got off in self-defense, and I think that was probably the right...
If an innocent life bounces my head off the concrete, I'm shooting that innocent life.
Okay, let me make a point about that show.
You got off on self-defense, right?
Okay, your show, then you didn't know all the facts at the time. I mean, I watched that, and Matt Winklejohn and some other panelists on that show. You guys all jumped to conclusions, and all of you were against Trayvon Martin, not knowing all the facts yet. And why? Because he was a black kid. It sounded very racist.
Go back and watch again.
You didn't even have all the evidence
yet. The media narrative.
The pictures were already released. He bounced Zimmerman's head off of the concrete.
I don't know if that happened.
You
didn't see that. I was against the media narrative, and I was against the executive branch, the president, coming out to try to influence a judicial case. Is what I was against. When he said that,
pictures were released within a week.
No, you guys should have called
at the time, I remember being much more broad and specific, and you're trying to nail me into some kind of prejudicial decision that I made. That wasn't the case.
Mine was based on the fact that I saw pictures of Zimmerman's head after it bounced off the ground. So I said, yeah, shoot the bastard that did it.
Okay, so Sam, I don't agree with you either. Like, I'm on my own plane over here where I'm just reporting, trying to do my best to be a reporter. Okay, even at the time back then.
Much that show. No, listen, I'm not. What I wanted you to do was speak up in that show. What I heard was Matt Winklejohn. In my 2 ears, it sounded like him and a couple of other people on your panel were. I'm not saying you said this, but I heard other people say things, and they were jumping to conclusions, blaming Trayvon Martin for his own death. And what I was upset about is I was yelling like at the computer saying, D-Lake, why aren't you saying something? And I know you didn't have all the facts at the time, but these guys, Matt Winklejohn and the people on your panel who blamed Trayvon without knowing all the facts yet, I'm saying, why did they blame Trayvon? Because of the color of his skin.
No, you keep saying that, but just because you keep saying it doesn't mean it's not as much bullshit as it was when you said it the first time. It had nothing to do with the color of his skin. I'm going to say it again. It had to do with the fact that I saw cuts and bruises that were released to the media almost instantly that showed that Zimmerman, regardless of what color the other guy was, got his head bounced off the ground and shot the guy. It had zero to do with color. I'd have felt the same if he was Korean.
And he
Hindu, right?
And just from what I sort of gathered from the evidence back then was that he approached him not because of racial profiling, but because of suspicious behavior. He was like in people's backyards. He was walking through people's
He was walking down the street. He was walking down the street. We knew that at the time. At the time, we knew even less than we do now. At the time, all we knew was that this kid went to the store, bought Skittles and iced tea. It was reported right away that happened.
And I remember traversing through backyards when someone who's on neighborhood watch became suspicious, is what I heard.
Important. He was traversing through a bunch of people's yards. And they thought he was breaking in. Was he? Probably not, but it looks that way. If someone goes walking through my backyard, I guarantee I'm going to ask. I don't have to because my neighbor.
Okay. I'm just going to squash this. None of us was there. None of us knows. We all have our own opinions. I was trying to segue from guns to deplorables, and then we went to Trayvon Martin. I mean, it's kind of an old case.
Because you asked me a specific question. You said, what do you think about Trump supporters or Trump himself or Trump's campaign calling themselves and claiming now this name deplorables? And I'm saying to you that some of the Trump supporters are deplorable. And that's not a good thing.
What's the percentage then? Half? Half of them are?
What are you talking about? I mean,
what's the percentage of people in the Trump? What percentage of Trump supporters are in the basket of deplorables? Is it half? 50%, as Hillary said? Is it 100%, like she wants it to be, or is it only like a minuscule 0.001? David Duke and his buddies in the Ku Klux Klan percent? Because there's only about 3,000 Ku Klux Klan.
What? You know what? He said he wants to own the name.
What's the percentage of America that's in the Ku Klux Klan, Emery?
So wait a second. Let me think about this. So you're telling me that Trump wants to own the name deplorable. He likes being called part of the deplorables. So I guess according to Trump, it's 100%. 100%.
I'm saying his supporters are using it. He did use it in his opening because he knows that it was resonating with his audience. It was resonating with his audience. So they want to be
part of that group.
It's making a mockery of it.
It's making a mockery of it. Exactly.
Making a mockery of the deplorables.
He's flipping it. He's doing a
mocking it, like the "Now I'm Nothing" T-shirt. It's mocking it. When we wear "Now I'm Nothing" T-shirts, it's not because we think we're nothing. It's because we're saying "fuck you." They flip it around. It means the exact opposite when you do that.
It's turning it on its head to turn it into a big F you. You want to call me a nigger? Fine. I'm a nigger and all my niggers are niggers. Oh, we're deplorable? Fine. We're deplorable. All my deplorables are deplorable. Oh, now we're nothing? Fine. We're all nothing. We're going with it. That's what it is. But the media can't. Okay, the media has no sense of humor or sarcasm or flipping it or branding or like using a reverse brand. This is a genius use of reverse branding. It's like, you want to call me that? Fine, I'll be that. I'll be deplorable. Fine. Is that what you want? That doesn't mean I'm saying, yes, I am racist. Stupid. Yes, I am xenophobic. Yes, I am this and that.
You are xenophobic.
I'm xenophobic, racist, homophobic, and Islamophobic, and whatever else you want to call me. Because I say I'm deplorable.
If you say that you are part of a group and that group has people in it who believe things, why do you think I don't say I'm Catholic? I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school my whole life. Why do I not say right now that I identify with being Catholic? Because I do not agree with two things that or more of the Catholic Church. I mean, that they believe. Yes. I mean, if it was just on one thing, I wouldn't be.
So I can't call
myself. I would fight. I'm fighting against it. So I can't call myself a Catholic. Now, Nancy Pelosi still considers herself a Catholic and part of the Catholic Church, and yet she is for pro-choice. She's for a woman choosing whether to have an abortion or not. Same with Stephen Colbert, who is now on the Late Show, and he replaced David Letterman. He identifies himself as a Catholic. Now, when you say I
could be Catholic all day long, and Nancy Pelosi is still a fucking idiot. I mean, is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, if I said I was Catholic, people would think that I am also, against abortion, and I'm against birth control, and I'm against premarital sex, because that's what the Catholic Church believes, and I'm against. They would think I was against some of the things I'm not. So that's why I don't say that I'm part of that group. And I'm not. I don't go to Catholic church, and I'm more of a spiritual person. I believe in God, but that is not who I identify with. So deplorable is a broad term that he's owning it because it sounds like badass. But the thing is, though, I don't want to be part
It does
of,
sound like it does.
right,
It does sound like badass. She
some
gave it to
people
them.
are deplorable. That's my point.
Yeah, no, but it sounds
People are
badass.
deplorable.
She called us badass. We picked up on it as, Republicans supporting Trump. She called us that. We're like claiming it, and we're owning it.
Okay, but if you call yourself, forget about deplorable, if you just call yourself a Trump supporter, people who don't know you might think you might be racist. They might think you might be homophobic. They might think you don't want. You do want some of the things he wants. He flip-flops a lot, so it's either do or don't. I mean, it depends which day of the week it is. But
Okay, so
they might think that you also is, if you just say Trump supporter, not deplorable, people might think you are racist. I think that you are some of these things because that is some of the things he said.
But that's what I think.
When
I hear someone's a Clinton supporter, I must be honest, I immediately think of the racism that is Black Lives Matter. I hear racism when I hear someone's a Clinton supporter. So that doesn't.
They're not racist. Black Lives Matter are people who don't want to. Black people be shot by cops.
They are reverse KKK members. They are utterly racist. I've talked to many.
Oh my gosh, that is so not true.
I've talked to many.
I totally disagree with that.
Racist, self-centered people that ever lived.
For a cause.
They are fighting for bullshit. They are racist and bigoted. They are racist and bigoted. I have as much respect for Black Lives Matter as I do David Duke. That is to say, none.
Oh my God! Do you say something and don't sit there and say nothing and play host of the show? You know that that's wrong. The Black Lives Matter is not the same as. Say something. Oh my God!
That Black Lives Matter is not the same as the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, I think they're both sort of supremacy hate groups in a way, but Black lives do matter. All lives matter.
Amen.
Oh my God! You know this is a specific group. It's like save the rainforest. It's not like you're saying kill all the rainforest, all the forest.
Okay. Have you donated any money to Black Lives Matter? Have you participated in any of their events?
Why does that have to matter?
Well,
you can still support somebody.
I haven't, because I don't support them. I don't support them. So do you support them? Black Lives Matter. I don't support them. And it's not because I'm racist, it's because I think their cause is ridiculous. Not the fact maybe not the what do you call it? Maybe not the mission statement. Maybe not their entire mission statement, but their actions.
Like what? Okay, fine, but what do you think about
police violence? Police violence is an issue for me, and if you go back and watch my videos, you'll see I've come down super hard on all kinds of cops. What about Wheeler that kicked a pregnant woman in her belly? Did I come down on that white officer? You goddamn sure I did. I called for him to be fucking removed from the police force.
And I also stuck up for the police officer that killed Eric Garner, who he didn't kill him.
Exactly. We did a whole show on Eric Garner where we stood up for Eric Garner and fuck the police.
Thug cop. That cop needs to be in prison right now, maybe facing the electric chair. I have no problem with going after cops that hurt black people. He didn't hurt him because he was black. He hurt him.
I'm against cops that hurt any people. Like, yeah. I'm against bad cops, but that doesn't mean I'm for Black Lives Matter. I'm for all lives matter, where we need to be served and protected by our law enforcement officials, and we don't need to be shot and killed. It doesn't matter who you are or what color you are, and if you happen to be white, the chances and statistics show that you're more likely to be killed by a cop than a black person.
What?
Go look up the statistics. Whites are killed more by cops than blacks.
I just read that. I just read those. The actual statistics.
Listen, some black people are stopped so many times.
Well, Donald Trump better not retweet that today because he'll be in big trouble for saying that.
I'm always getting stopped by cops, largely because I drive a black van. No, I know that's
with a red beam down the side like the A-Team, and you're almost getting stopped.
I should probably explain. It's an all-black van, and the windows are tinted, and
it says "free candy" on the side in spray paint.
Strangers have the, but no, especially when I do, and this is another one. If I was a black person, I would be sure that this is because I was black. One of the jobs I do is I take pictures of houses for real estate companies. Free plug, Sheila Evans. She'll send me to a house, and it's my job to go there and take pictures of the house. Now, usually the people of the house know that I'm coming. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I expect the owner to ask, but almost all the time, neighbors are looking out there wondering what the hell I'm doing. Cops will sometimes be alerted to what I'm doing. Is it because I'm white? It must be because I'm white. No, it's because I'm standing in front of someone's house taking pictures, and the neighbors have no earthly idea who the hell I am. And it has nothing to do with the color of my skin, any more than it would if a black man had my job or a Hindu had my job.
So it's not the color of your skin, it's the content. It's the content of your character and or your actions.
Yeah, I look suspicious as hell out there. So when people ask me, I don't get mad. I say, I'm with Sheila Evans. I have her business card if you need to call the bank. I immediately let them know, bam, don't panic. Here, I understand. I know it looks bad, not because I'm whitey. I know it looks bad because I'm standing out here taking pictures of someone's house, having gotten out of a black van. If somebody doesn't question me, I'm going to wonder if I'd even want to live in this damn neighborhood.
And if you have a backpack,
okay, but racism,
if you have a black backpack.
D-Lake, can you let me talk for a second? Racism does exist in this country. And I sent you a link in your Facebook. I sent you a link. I want you to play it because Bill O'Reilly, who I do not like, just wrote a book. And he was discussing a segment on his show about that Colin Kirkpatrick, that football player who's like kneeling because he believes in he's protesting because of the Black Lives Matter. And there's a response. I want you to play the response from this guy, Roland Martin. And he explains it. I'm probably not saying it great. And I wish we could have him on the show to explain what racism is in this country. Black people have had racism in this country. It still exists today. And Sam was saying that he doesn't think it exists. It does exist. And this guy says it. This guy's history.
I'm more likely to believe in the Easter Bunny.
What? I didn't hear it. The Easter Bunny?
I'm more likely to believe in the Easter Bunny. There are a few prejudiced white people. There are a few prejudiced black people. I don't think it's very common. There always will be a few prejudiced people.
Okay.
There definitely is racism in this country. Please show this video.
I'm trying to get there. Just fill in while I get there.
No, well, the statistics plainly speak for themselves. I just had it up. More whites are shot by cops than blacks, and this is true among just about every single poll that you can possibly bring up about it. Speaking of O'Reilly, I'll just use some of the facts that were posted on his show. This is from December.
Oh, no, he's horrible. Oh, Bill O'Reilly.
No, it's fine. It's not his poll. It's not his poll. It's the Center for Welfare and Justice. It's not his poll.
Oh, no, Sam, just wait. Listen, Bill O'Reilly thinks that he's like, he even said like he thinks that
it has nothing to do with Bill, hon. It's just facts that he had on his show. He can factor him right now.
But he misrepresents facts. Like he doesn't say
it's
facts.
It's impossible to misrepresent this. The Center for I'm looking to see who it is. The Center for Juvenile and Criminal Justice, excuse me, this, from the CDC. From the CDC, police killings of blacks are down 70% in 50 years. In 2012, 123 blacks were killed by police with a gun. In 2012, 326 whites were killed by police with a gun. Those are from the CDC, the Center for Juvenile and Criminal Justice. CDC.
They shouldn't be killed at all. I mean, children shouldn't be killed. I listen to this. They talk. Please listen to this video, please, because he explains it.
It doesn't matter if they should. It matters if it's racist. There's no racism there. They're killing us.
Just listen to. But I'm trying to tell you that racism exists in this country. Watch this video. Just watch it.
It doesn't.
I know, but I want you to watch. I know you're saying that, but I believe it doesn't. Just listen to this video. Just listen to his response. And okay, go ahead.
Emery, okay. Emery, this is like a 10-minute video. Is there like a certain segment I should jump to, or should it start at the beginning, or what do you think?
Start at the beginning. This is important for people who don't believe racism doesn't exist in this country.
Okay.
Speaking of not caring about black people, Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, Lord.
Folks, the Fox News host the other night.
What the fuck?
2 nights ago.
Speaking
Wait,
of... That's how he introduces Bill O'Reilly, speaking about not caring about black people?
Yeah, this isn't biased or racist or anything. They're going to be the most racist poor people that ever lived.
Oh, please, listen. Bill O'Reilly just wrote a book. Bill O'Reilly keeps talking about this Colin Kilpatrick. Listen, he's misrepresenting facts, Bill O'Reilly. Please just listen to what this man has to say. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. I mean, you'd rather listen to Bill O'Reilly? You don't like Bill O'Reilly. I don't like Bill O'Reilly. And he's not trustworthy. Just play it.
But Roland Martin starts out by saying, speaking of people that don't like black people named Bill O'Reilly.
Just listen to it.
Speaking of not caring about black people, Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Lord.
Folks, the Fox News host the other night, 2 nights ago,
All the girls
he
are like,
tried to
show you
chastise
right,
Colin
you right, you
Kaepernick.
right.
He's written some book, and then he decides to go on his show, actually on the Today Show earlier. Then he goes on his book, and he said this about the San Francisco 49er quarterback who's been protesting by kneeling to the national anthem for the purpose of bringing attention to police brutality.
So it's official, Kaepernick, the quarterback, is kneeling and sitting down to protest police brutality.
For Black Lives, yeah, and that's like part of Black Lives Matter. That's what they're fighting for. I mean, just go ahead. Go ahead.
To disgrace their own country.
Soros so the NFL is being infiltrated by George Soros is what I'm getting out of this. But let's play it.
No, oh my gosh.
It dude. Come on.
And his sympathizers. No nation is perfect, but American police officers very rarely shoot civilians. The statistics prove it. Also, while there is...
That's BS. That's total BS. Just listen to this video. Listen to Roland Martin after this. This is ridiculous.
And blacks have suffered in this country, most Americans deplore bias, and we have seen tremendous improvements in that area. To overhype the few police shootings that do occur and to create hostility.
There has been an overhyping of the few that have occurred. And
I agree
it is
with
not
everything.
overhyping. It is not overhyping. That is ridiculous.
all the cases we talked about are so many.
I agree.
Oh, that's
Bill in every way
ridiculous.
so
Oh, you're ridiculous. You're
I
absolutely
agree with
ridiculous.
Bill in every way so far.
Oh, he's ridiculous, Sam.
Perspective is everything in life. Now, I
Don't hate me because of Bill O'Reilly or Sam.
going to send Kaepernick a copy of Killing the Rising Sun. I am not confident he will read it. But if he does, he might understand that millions of Americans have given their lives for the cause of freedom. Freedom for blacks in the Civil War. Freedom for everybody in the Revolutionary War. Freedom for Asians and freedom for Europe in World War II. And
Don't believe it. That's all lies. And wait till Roland Martin talks, because he will break it down. But this is all lies. Bill O'Reilly, it is too.
It's not a lie.
They were slaves.
Most of Europe
Black people didn't have rights.
most of Europe would be speaking German or be a lampshade today if it wasn't for us.
He's talking about black people. D-Link, you know this too.
I don't know yet. Don't tell me what I know. I'm going to roll in, and we're going to listen to what you're talking about. Here we go.
Civil War. You think black people were free during the Civil? Oh.
Here's the reality.
I love black people. I love all people. I love Americans.
Did Bill O'Reilly just say
I hate news reporters like this guy, though.
that millions of Americans gave their lives?
I love this guy. I think he's awesome.
I don't know yet my feelings about this guy. I haven't watched him too much, but I Joy Reid. Oh man, I don't want to be racist, but I hate that black bitch.
Check. Black folks were not free during the American Revolution. In fact, last I checked, many black folks who first came to this country in 1619 fought for the British in order to gain their freedom. That's a historical fact. Bill, what books are you reading? Because last I checked, 1776, America founded. Emancipation Proclamation did not come on until 1863, almost 100 years later, Bill. So exactly what black folks were freed during the American Revolution? Oh, then Bill, of course, cited the Civil War. And again, somehow believing that, oh, no, they were fighting for the freedom of black people. Really? So please explain to me the Great Compromise of 1877 that ended the period of Reconstruction after 12 years that ushered in Jim Crow. You know that deal that was cut where Republican Rutherford B. Hayes became president and Democrats said you got to pull the federal troops out of the South? See, that's the same history, Bill. So please explain to me again how black folks were freed, because if black folks were freed with the Civil War, then that means we would not have.
Okay, you know what, Anne-Marie? I'm not really a historian, so I can't really comment on everything that he's saying.
I can, and I can. This is an easy one.
Nowadays,
They're
the crap
both wrong.
200 years ago is not the fucking same.
Let me comment on the video. No, I think they're both wrong. Bill O'Reilly is completely wrong. No, they were not totally freed in 1776. They were freed from slavery. It was one step that towards many steps.
They were free from slavery.
And this guy is wrong. This guy is wrong to imply that there was that they weren't. He's trying to make it sound like nothing happened in 17. So I mean, during the Civil War. So they're both, Bill and this guy are wrong. Neither one of them are right. Both of them have. Neither one of them should write a history book. How about that?
Have had Jim Crow. I mean, we would not have to go through the civil rights movement. But then, of course, you then have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to actually say that, oh, it was also about freeing black people during World War II. But please explain to me how many black soldiers came back to America and they still had racial hatred. Explain to me the black soldiers who were forced to ride in the back of rail cars when the German POWs were allowed to ride in front of them because of racism in America. See, Bill, you want Colin Kaepernick to read your book about patriotism and real patriotism. No, Bill O'Reilly, the real patriotism is when you're black in America and you fought for a nation, even though that nation did not fight for you. That's real patriotism.
All right, pause for me to make one point, please. What he's saying is absolute BS, and I'll tell you why. There were a lot of black people that were slaughtered in those wars. And by not standing up for the flag, he is pissing on the memory of those black heroes as well. He's an idiot.
Kaepernick, not the host.
Kaepernick, yes. Kaepernick is disgracing other black veterans who died.
Interesting, Sam. I don't think that's the way Roland feels. I mean, he's trying to defend Kaepernick's First Amendment right to kneel if he wants to. I mean, do you feel that the quarterback's decision to kneel during the national anthem is his First Amendment right, Sam? I mean, you've defended the Second Amendment a lot during the show. What about
I do protect his First Amendment. However, I must say, what happens if I go into my job and blatantly do whatever I want to do? They're going to fire me. I don't think he should be arrested. He has the right to do it. But if they threw him off the team, he is at work.
Anne-Marie seemed a little flabbergasted when I suggested that George Soros was behind this move in the NFL to protest the American flag. Sam, how do you feel about it?
The whole protesting of the American flag is another complete misdirection. You stand in honor of those who died. And the last time I checked, a lot of black people died.
The way I see it, George Soros is probably the only one that can afford to pay off NFL players to do his bidding. But let's listen to Roland here.
So imagine those African Americans who fought in the Civil War, knowing full well they were not fully free. Imagine the African Americans who fought in World War I and World War II and in the Korean War and the Vietnam War, knowing full well that America was not willing to see them as free. That's actual history. So Bill O'Reilly, damn your book. Colin Kaepernick should not read your book because your book is a joke when it comes to patriotism.
Has Roland Martin written a book to your knowledge, Emery? Let's go see. Roland Martin.
I mean, he went on, like, I think Wendy Williams a month ago and tried to school her too, because she said some things about like colleges, and her own parents went to like a prestigious, I think, black college, and Wendy Williams was also in the news. I think he went on her show too to school her in Black history. And I know she lost some viewers because of that.
Let's see.
I think that people in this country don't realize what Black people have gone through. And it wasn't even that long ago. I mean, think about it.
Is it my responsibility as a white person to understand the plight of Black people? Should I understand their plight and what they?
Yes, and also I think also we should be schooled, like in school, not just Black History Month, and you learn about let's do a report on one Black person. We should know the history of what people go through, and they're still going through it. This wasn't that long ago. We did another show where we were talking about State the Case for States' Rights, and we talked about Black people weren't allowed into this hotel in Atlanta, and because of interstate commerce, they ruled against the hotel and said, hey, these people are coming from out of state and you have to let them in your hotel. And we were talking about the restaurant, the barbecue restaurant that wouldn't allow Black people in their restaurant inside to eat. This isn't that long ago that these things were going on. And these were states that were fighting the Civil Rights Act. And Black people in this country, even to this day, because are still fighting for their own rights. And there is racism in this country. I think it's ridiculous that Sam doesn't think that racism exists in this country. I mean, it does.
What about when Donald Trump, years ago, 1997, it's a warm. Oh, this Wall Street Journal report is actually from 1997. Oh, before the World Trade Center attack. It's a warm Saturday night. And the party is getting hot at Mar-a-Lago, the Palm Beach estate that owner Donald Trump recently converted into a private club. As the Beach Boys harmonize on the Beach Boys, that's so white. Even the Fat Boys copied them, but that doesn't matter. Harmonize on a makeshift stage, hundreds of revelers, many of them decked out in Hawaiian shirts, straw hats, and leis, dance in the aisles and gyrate on wooden lawn chairs. At the height of the feat, Mr. Trump asked the crowd, "Does this remind you of the Bath and Tennis Club, anybody?" The answer is a definite no. Among the evening's partygoers and many more of the nearly 10,000 residents of this posh island town. But whether the contrast between the freewheeling Mar-a-Lago club and the more formal Bath and Tennis Club, as well as Palm Beach's other traditional establishments, is good or bad depends on whom you ask. Basically, what I'm trying to find and lead up to in this article is that it was Mr. Trump that was inviting multiple ethnicities to his golf club, including African Americans and Black people, which we called them before. I believe African American, the term came from Oprah Winfrey later than 1997. Back then we called them Black people. They were admitted to the Palm Beach Club. Let's see if we can find African American in this article from 1997. African Americans. Oh, really? Okay, maybe I was wrong on the dates there. In part, it is open to Jews and African Americans. Oh, Donald Trump opened his club to Jews and African Americans back in 1997. How unracist!
Oh, here, you know what?
No, I don't know.
I'm getting
Always making
feedback.
strides in China. Is that what you're gonna say?
I'm getting feedback. Okay. You know, I found my notes on some of these people. Now, I don't know their names, but there was a guy that was shot. This has to do with, like, you know, what we're talking about, like police shooting black people. In Baton Rouge, there was a guy that was shot by cops that had a record. He had just been released from prison. He was living in a Christian halfway house trying to get his life together and draw his gun on the cops. That's what the cops said. And he was shot and killed. Minnesota, there was a guy that was shot by a cop. He was a model citizen and a leader in his community. He had a legal concealed carry permit and told the cop that he was armed. It was a traffic stop and he did not resist, and he got shot anyway. I mean, and in Dallas, there was a guy that shot the cops, and he was discharged Army veteran who had seen active duty in Afghanistan. He was not part of Black Lives Matter, but he obviously wanted to kill white people, and especially the white cops. So, but what I'm saying is, well, these are people who are in the news, like we were saying before, and
he wasn't a part of Black Lives Matter, but he just happened to do all his killings on the same day as one of their events.
Right, and I'm saying that, you know, racism, I believe, and I don't know, you could respond to this because, I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but I believe that racism exists in this country. I really do believe that.
It does, but
it exists among a very small few number of people. And let me give you one example where most people don't understand it. And I can prove it here as a cab driver.
Just so Anne-Marie feels comfortable, what exists more than racism is prejudice. Prejudice is below racism. That's just a prejudgment. It doesn't matter. Prejudice isn't based on race. It's just a prejudge. Like, I don't care if you're white, black, green, or yellow, or brown, but if you just look fucked up and are acting suspicious, that supersedes, like, whatever else there is.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about racism. We're talking about
bombs. I don't care where the fuck you're from or what color you are. You're planting bombs. Or if you're walking around, milling around, looking suspicious and doing weird, shady shit that I see sometimes. I don't care who it is. I see people, and I'm like, that guy. But I do take a mental note. Okay, he's about 6 foot, brown, curly hair. Just in case I have to fill out a police report. He's acting fucking weird.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm talking about black people and the color of their skin being black, and then they're getting targeted.
But most people don't.
But that's called racism.
Most people do not know.
They're getting targeted less percentage than me for just being a white guy.
When I drove taxi, and I used to hear this all the time from black people in the media and everywhere else, and they would say this bullshit story, and I'll tell you why it's a bullshit story in a second. If I'm walking down the street and a taxi stops at the red light where I'm at, or the stop sign, they power lock their doors because I'm black. Bullshit. When I was driving cab and I saw a 12-year-old white girl standing at the stop sign, I power locked the car. If it was a white guy of 70 years old, I still power locked the car. Why? Look at Canton, Ohio zip code, especially on the northeast and southeast end, and you'll find out why. It had nothing to do with race. When the best guitarist that we ever had in our band, hands down, his name is Ed Simpson. D-Lake looked him up once. D-Lake said he doesn't even like metal much, and he could watch this guy play forever. It was the single most talented guitar player that I've ever worked with.
That's good.
When he left the band, I cried like a bitch. Not because he was black. I don't miss him because he was black. I don't care if he's black or green. I'd like to work with him again because he's the best musician that I ever worked with, and I didn't care what color he was.
I think that's the second time we mentioned black or green. Now, speaking of black or green, How did you guys feel this week about Pepe the Frog, the meme that's been around for over 8 years, but Hillary Clinton's camp, and on her official I'm getting text messages. On her official Hillary Clinton website, she is saying that Pepe the Frog that is in memes, and he's basically a cartoon. They're saying that he represents white nationalism and racism. And for Donald Trump for someone to put Donald Trump and Pepe in the same meme with Don Jr., Eric, Alex Jones, Milo, Breitbart, Roger Stone, whoever else was in the Deplorables, basically I'm trying to let you visualize this, but basically a meme that was taken from the movie Expendables with Stallone and the rest of them, but they changed all the faces, and the face behind behind Donald Trump is Pepe the Frog with the blonde Donald Trump wig, and now that is a symbol of racism and white nationalism and white supremacy. And when Donald Trump speaks, you need to take all the words that he says and discount it for black people and only apply it to white people that only want white people. White people don't want people from any other country because we're xenophobic. We don't want anyone to cross over to our border because we want a border wall, which is not the truth. We hate black people even though they are Americans in our country. That's not true. We love all Americans. What we love is Americans. Okay? I don't want to say we just love black people, because there might be some black people from Africa that we wouldn't necessarily welcome here. Okay? What we love is Americans. Now, I know that might be rough for some people to understand, but what I've been saying, and I don't think I can be called a hypocrite for this, is because if you go back and watch my videos, and some of them you might find offensive from the past, but I was actually promoting isolationism, even though I don't call it isolation. It's isolationist, but it's more about nationalism. In other words, once we build the borders up properly the way that they should be, everyone that's inside the gates, boom, you're good. Everyone outside the gates, I'm sorry, you're not coming in until we get the fortified information that you're good to come in. But to go back to what I just said, there are some people that are still inside the gates at the time that they are erected that, like, you keep fucking up, you're raping people, little kids, bad stuff. We can't have that. You're gone. Goodbye. If your host country doesn't want to take you back, then I could see Donald Trump enacting a new law that says that if you've been convicted of such and such and your host country won't take you back, first of all, I think he wants to devise measures that your host country will take you back. But in the event that they won't take you back, what's going to happen to that individual? It's either A, let them back out on the streets, and I think it's going to be more towards, I'm sorry, you're done. Like, 3 strikes, you're out. Like, you're dead. Like, we have to kill you now. So I don't know how that's going to reflect on America. I'm sure you guys might have big thoughts about that, but if you've come illegally to our country 5 times, you've raped 6 girls, and maybe shot or killed a police officer, one and or the other, and your host country won't take you back, should we imprison you for life, or should we just end it for you? What do you think, Sam? I know that's a tough question, but something that tough could come up in the debate, so let's just try to be prepared. What do you think, Sam? Okay, great. Anne-Marie, what do you think? Am I connected to the internet? I think I'm
sitting here talking away, and my mute's on. Go ahead. Let Anne-Marie answer first, because that was my fault.
I asked like 30 questions right there. I know it's really hard, but go ahead and give your thoughts.
Anne-Marie, go first, because I'm slow on the button here.
Anne-Marie, go ahead.
Oh, wait a second. I lost my headphones. Okay.
Sam?
Well, when you say that you're like, like when you say you're an isolationist, they want a smaller federal government, and that means you're going to leave more up to the corporations, and
No.
they are the corporations. Well, if you what happens, and if you leave it up to the corporations, they're the ones who are bringing the jobs to other countries. That's why we're losing our jobs.
But what if I reeled in government? What if I reeled in government more? What if I reeled in my government as the president? What if I reeled in my focus of government less on the people and more on the corporations, so that when I say we want less government, it means on the people, but it doesn't necessarily mean on the corporations. Because them,
I think
it's going to come down hard and make them start to behave.
Well, I think it's hypocritical of Trump, because he is a CEO of a corporation who did take his jobs out of our country and into China, and he was boasting about having relations with China. And that is true. In a corporation, it's not the government making this deal with China. It was Donald Trump that made a deal with China, and he was boasting about that and saying that's why he'd be a great leader. And he could, like I said, he could close that factory in China, and he could open one in Mexico. He could open one here, but he won't do it because he said he makes more of a profit because it's less cost for him, because he pays the workers less in China. It's cheaper labor over there. And it's funny that this is an important issue to you and also Trump supporters, because Trump is doing this now. I mean, he's doing private trade deals with other countries. That is what he's doing. He's not going to change that. And we live in a global economy. He's not going to change that either. We are going to trade with these other countries. And if he wanted to, he could open a factory here, employ Americans here. I don't understand how you could just ignore that fact. He just said it at the rally the other day. He said, oh, for Canton, I'm going to create more jobs. There's people who know how to sew here. There's people who know how to do things and make things here, just like they do over there. And he's not doing that. So I don't know how to get through to any Trump supporter, or even you, because it doesn't make sense. You're fighting for something that somebody is telling you that they're going to fight for, who isn't doing it.
Because
so he's doing the complete opposite.
My position is that he is doing that now under the current rules, regulations, laws, outsourcing, profitability.
There is no rules and regulations about it. He's making private trade deals with China. He said it.
A private deal to.
You're ignoring facts.
He has a deal where his American company outsources the production to China. Then China sends it back, and they sell it where they sell it. Okay, but he has said repeatedly he doesn't like that arrangement, and he wished that he could outsource it here to Americans at the same price or better. And he states,
but he doesn't want to pay people below minimum wage.
That is his goal. He's not the president right now. He's still a businessman making business decisions that are the most profitable for him. Okay?
What does that have to do with the president?
Ideally, he makes the business decisions that are most profitable for all Americans, and I think that's his.
Leave it to the court. We leave it. You're ignoring facts, D-Lake. We leave it to the corporations now.
China, I know that fact. I addressed it.
And the fact is that we leave it to the corporations. The corporations don't want to be regulated by the government. You don't want a bigger government. You keep saying that. You keep saying leave it to the states.
Under the current system. He's talking about changing the system. Sam, what do you think?
The system? No, listen to me. You're not listening to the facts. The fact is that is the system. The corporations like this system. The government is not regulating these corporations enough.
Like Hillary Clinton, the status quo, because they like the system. They're afraid that Donald Trump is going to come in and shake it up and change everything.
He's not going to shake it up. He is being allowed to make
of America. No, they're afraid that America is going to take back their advantage.
Are you actually listening to yourself or to me? I mean, I don't think you're listening to me. Right now, that is what private corporations, the people who go to Bilderberg, they're the heads of corporations. It's not just politicians, it's the heads of corporations. Yes, and you're against Bilderberg, you're against bigger federal government. Well, if you don't want a bigger federal government would regulate more. They would regulate these corporations more and tell them not to do certain things. But you don't want that. Trump doesn't want that. He does not want regulations.
The Bilderberg group and the Bilderberg meeting is not American.
But you're not understanding.
It's not American one teeny tiny bit.
Understanding why you don't like Bilderberg. I mean, you don't like Bilderberg, and I don't like Bilderberg.
Don't like Bilderberg?
Yes, because we don't like Bilderberg because they're a head of corporations that are coming together, and the heads of corporations are the ones who are making most of these decisions. They are making trade deals with other countries. It's not our government making these trade deals with other countries. It is Trump. Trump just said that. He said, I am making this trade deal with China. It is him. It's not the government. The government isn't forcing Trump to make scarves in China. He is making scarves in China because he's paying these people pennies. We've talked about this like endless, and I just don't understand. You keep repeating these slogans.
What I don't understand is how you're equating the Trump scarves to U.S. steel or energy.
We did a whole show. Go back and watch it. We did a whole show.
You're equating Trump picture frames.
I have broken down, you just don't want to listen, because I have broken down importing and exporting. I finally got to exporting with the soybean show, but you just don't want to listen to facts. Trump is a CEO of a corporation. He is selling this to you. He's saying, I am rich. I make private trade deals with China. I make things over there. I have good business relationships with them over there. He will continue. He even said this on Fox News. He said, I will continue to make my scarves and textiles over there in China, not here, even after he becomes president. Because it's cheaper to make it over there. That is what corporations do. They are making private trade deals with other countries, not our government. It's not Obama's fault. It's Hillary Clinton won't have anything to do with it. He won't have anything to do with it.
It's a smart business decision to me, so I don't know what the problem is.
Well, you just said you wanted the opposite. You wanted the jobs in our country. You just said that.
At this point,
you just said you wanted the jobs in our country.
Guys, wait.
You're not listening to
I've been
yourself.
quiet forever. I've outdone myself. But with all due respect, I must say I don't think he's saying what either one of you are saying. Here's what I think he's saying. One, he's saying in part what Anne Marie is saying, that he has made things in the other countries due to the existing laws that make it too expensive to make here. I agree that she's right on that. However, where it falls apart is he is saying, I can't get my screen, I can't get my logo off. So listeners, I'm sorry. I don't know why my computer's acting up. The other thing is he's saying, the reason that you want to elect me is I know what created the environment that made it so that I had to send stuff to China. I am going to eliminate that by putting a tariff on companies that do that. Therefore, other billionaires will not be able to do what I did. And I'm going to do this for the good of the country. He is saying what Anne Marie is saying, but he's saying that he is going to change it. And if I could take a highlighter to the Trump campaign, that might be the one area where I would use the most highlighting ink. I swear to God, I would put neon signs around it. He did that, but he is going to change it so that other people can't do it.
And I know I've said this before, but the State Department, Hillary Clinton, when he blames Hillary Clinton for any of this, he actually can't do that. And this is just factual. I'm not a Hillary supporter. Once again, I hate defending Hillary. It's just that Trump is saying misstatements, and the State Department has nothing to do with foreign trade. Most of that happens in the private sector with businesses like Trump Enterprises, manufacturing jobs to China. And to the extent that the federal government has anything to do with it at all, it would be under the Commerce Department, not the State Department. So when he blames Hillary for any of this, it has nothing to do Secretary of State. But my main point is, if anyone listens to one point that I make, it's that this is because of private trade deals that corporations are doing with other countries. This really doesn't have anything to do with the federal government. The federal government is actually out. And the Republicans don't want to be regulated. The Republicans don't want corporations to be regulated. They don't want more regulations. Trump is doing this on his own. He is making private trade deals with China. So as president, I don't think he is going to change any of this. That we live in a global economy. I don't think we'll ever be isolationist. And
the fact that he is more isolationist is why we are voting for him. And believe me, Anne Marie, I promise on a stack of Bibles, if he does not do what he says he's going to do, but he does what you're saying he's gonna do, D-Lake, what are you and I going to do to Mr. Trump on this show? What have we done to Gary Johnson since Gary Johnson has betrayed us? Oh, Anne Marie, I hope you're not right. God, if you are right, I'm telling you, I will be the loudest towards him. I will not let up. If you guys, what you're saying, oh my God, because I'm voting for him because I'm hoping he won't. You might, and you might be right. You right. And, oh my God, I hope not.
Anne-Marie, keep in mind we're only like 50 days. We're less than 2 months away from the general election. Like everything we're reporting on, and I think we're doing a good job of reporting. There's a lot of opinion. There's a lot of commentary. Today, oh my God, there's a lot of disagreement. But we are having this conversation. And who else has the, nutsack to do this, all right? And we're really bringing it. And I think that's great. And like Anne-Marie's bringing points. Sam is bringing points. I'm trying my best as well. And I think we're trying to put it all out there. But to what Sam just said, if it's Trump, then 2 months from now, Anne-Marie, and ideally it's still, the three of us, maybe another person or two people come that time, because we're just going to try to keep expanding the media speaks, the correct views. But it's like right now, we are kind of just speculating. We're just throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks. We're talking about what's going to happen. But ideally, 2 months from now, if it's Hillary or if it's Trump, I mean, we're still going to all be reporting and we'll all be on it as reporters, right, Anne-Marie? And it's like, if it's Hillary, I mean, are we going to give her a free pass as the media speaks? I don't think so. If it's Donald Trump, does he get a free pass? I don't think so. Look, I'm not going to get degraded like Matt Lauer and say I did a bad job, like I was pressing one and not pressing the other one as much. Yes, I've said that I'm a little bit biased towards Trump in this election, but that's not blinding me from everything else that's happening. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to keep a full spectrum, because if tomorrow he fucking totally does a gaffe, messes up, says something just like beyond the pale of anything he said before, I mean, but keep in mind that like most of the stuff he said, he's been able to bounce back from. He was on Jimmy Fallon last night. It was hilarious, and he's doing a really good job. He's on the shows. It's less than 2 months away. He's out there. He's in multiple states every day. I think he's going to win. But if he does win, that I'm not just going to be like, shining shoes for the president. I'm going to be coming down on the facts and the reality of what's going on, like I have been trying to do all along since I started reporting, Emery. So
I do want to say there's something that I did I want to say about 1.5 years or 2 years ago. I have absolutely stopped calling myself reporting unless I'm specifically doing something like I did interview reports.
Right. I said it was a little op-ed. I said it was commentary.
I am specifically a political commentator. I am definitely not unbiased. The only time I'm willing to do that is when I'm doing interviews. And even then, I usually tell people this isn't what I agree, but I'm staying out of this. I'll ask a few questions, but I'll actually pretty much let myself get mowed the fuck over and bitched out when I am in reporter mode, because I understand that those people aren't necessarily venting to me. I'm getting it because I'm the face of opposition at the moment. So as long as they don't get physical, I'm good. But in other instances, yeah, definitely the correct views is political commentary.
But it's commentary, but I mean, you are so I mean, by saying your commentary, you're admitting to some subjective, but overall, you try to be objective about just the facts, obviously. And I mean, if you're reporting something that's happening like live, I mean, we weren't, broadcasting live last night when there was bombings happening. So it's like if we talk about it today, it's more opinionated than actual like straight coverage. But I mean, Anne-Marie, do you have any biases? Are you biased at all? Are you prejudiced in any way?
Please repeat that. I got a lag.
No, mute.
Oh.
Go ahead.
By the way, for listeners, we mute out because background sound will change the camera angle off the person speaking. Go ahead.
Well, I think that this is a really weird election. I guess I probably have some problems with Trump, and I have some problems with Hillary, and I think there's some really odd things that are going on too. I mean, with Hillary's health, and then Trump. I read an article. We didn't cover this on the show.
That's today's headlines, and we finally got to it in the third hour. Let's talk a little bit about the health stuff that came out this week. Anne-Marie, I want you to take the floor, please.
Oh, well, actually, I was going to talk about, like everybody is talking about Hillary's health, and we could talk about that too, and there's conspiracy theories and this and that. But I thought what's also weird on Trump's side is Trump's doctor. You got to bring this up on the screen. And there's a picture of him. There's an article. It is just bizarre. And I know, like, this is actually from August 26th. And I meant to bring this up on the show before. It says, this is on, I guess it's either NBC.com or MSNBC. But basically, it's Trump doctor wrote health letter in July. This is kind of blurry. He wrote this like health letter in 5 minutes while like Trump waited in his limo.
Yeah.
But it is like, that is bizarre.
But just this week, Trump came. Last week he had a full physical. This week he came out with the numbers actually on the Dr. Oz show. Said he wishes he could lose a few pounds. Says he's on statin and aspirin for his cholesterol and heart rate. He's 70 years old. He hasn't really had any major hospital visits since he had his appendix removed at age 11. I mean, he seems, even Hillary Clinton said he's a horse.
Well, also he wasn't admitted into like the army when he was drafted into the army because he had some medical issues, remember? And people asked him like about his heel spur or something. He didn't know which foot it was on.
In his feet, but he was also attending school at the same time. That was another part of it.
Right, but listen to this. What I just want to talk about is how weird this election is. So weird. I mean, I know we used to talk about Hillary's cough, and then all of a sudden it got much worse in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I mean,
last week she collapsed and fell down, and we covered it.
Oh my gosh, it's like horrible, and it's like extreme. And with Trump, this doctor, this whole article is weird. It's bizarre. The doctor. This is a quote from the doctor. If elected, Mr. Trump, I can unequivocally will be the healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency.
Yeah.
And then he even said in the article.
The doctor never examined George Washington or Abraham Lincoln, to be fair. So.
Yeah, and then he says, I think I picked up on his kind of language and then just interpreted it into my own. I mean, it's very bizarre. Like, what I'm saying here is not only, like, this is just bizarre. Like, a doctor would come out. Now, a doctor is very smart and this and that. This guy seems almost like Kramer from Seinfeld or something. I mean, It's just the things
Wait, I got pictures of him. Oh, I just had it. Donald Trump doctor. Hold on.
even the quotes he's saying, he's admitting that Donald Trump waited in his limo.
This guy, you're saying that this guy right here is like Kramer from Seinfeld?
This reminds- and then he says this, listen to this quote. I like Donald Trump because I think he likes me or something like that. Like, that's weird. It is just so weird. This article is bizarre. This doctor is bizarre.
And it's been his doctor for like 30 years. It's not just anyone you let do a colonoscopy on you. Hey, I'm about to do a colonoscopy. I'm glad we've been friends for 30 years.
It is weird. If anyone wants to Google this article and read it, it is just bizarre. I just think this is a very bizarre election, both on Hillary's side and on Trump's side. I mean, there's just so many characters in this story.
Looking at the numbers, though, of let's see, Donald Trump rallies versus Clinton. Like, how many rallies, how many places he's been, how much he's done. I just saw a statistic on that. Like, Hillary's all like fundraisers, and Trump is everywhere. He's in way more states. He's talking to way more people. I mean, he has an average of probably like 8,000 to 10,000 per event. Hillary's average is in the hundreds. I mean,
but you know what matters? It matters in these swing states, the electoral votes, like Ohio,
where he has consistently a tremendous audience, where he's visiting repeatedly. I mean, Sam, he was just in Ohio on, what was it, Wednesday, and you were there, Sam.
That was one of the most awesome things ever. Now, I want to say this with a caveat because there's been a few problems with Mike. So I'm not going to say who the site is that's probably going to be linking to some of the protest videos because I'm going to look like I'm false hyping if it falls through, because some of the gear I have isn't the world's greatest gear, but they're trying to use it. Suffice to say, a certain very high-profile internet news site that we like very, very much, don't always agree with, but respect always, is probably going to be using at least the crazy socialist woman that I interviewed. And I'm very excited. I have been talking to their news director, and I just got a tweet yesterday that said that there were some minor mic issues on some of them. So I'm hoping.
All right, that's our Sam. We need a GoFundMe, Sam, for a proper microphone immediately. If that particular news organization could help fund your mission, I think that's something that you should encourage them to invest in. All right, great, Sam. I'm glad you got that. And but could you be more specific about the just the environment that you were in while you were in the press box and basically at the center of the rally? I mean, what was the environment that you encountered?
Well, this was the second time that I had come into this. The first one was in Cleveland. Second one was in Canton. And I was briefly outside the one in Akron because the Trump campaign had given me tickets. And then once I got there, said they were full. And I told Donald Trump, when are you going to make it right? He gave me media passes. So officially speaking, Donald Trump did in fact make it right. So I do want to resend that, or I'll have no credibility. They made it right. There's no beef here. So the people there are friendly and happy. It's not this angry, violent mob that you keep hearing so much about. I did notice one thing, though, that I could not wait to bring to the Sunday edition. And since Anne-Marie doesn't particularly like Trump, she's going to appreciate this, because there is one way that Trump is mildly mistaken. When you are in the media booth, to turn the camera oftentimes means putting your body part or your lens in the camera of the person beside you. And It's an unspoken no-no that you don't do that. We had a smaller camera, so Christelle was standing up and walking in a circle. But I had Fox 19 beside me, and every time she went to do it, I looked at him and waited for him to nod. I would grab her shoulders if he didn't nod. In order to turn the cameras immediately when he says that is really not as easy as he says it is to do. You're going to mess up all the people around you. However, if they're
a little uncouth with inside the press
however,
booth.
This is where he's right. The media can zoom out like some Right Side News does this. The media can zoom out, and the media, they have cell phones. You can film this crowd and put it in the upper third. So, but to immediately turn the camera is not necessarily good etiquette.
Etiquette within the press box. I understand that, Sam, though. But when Donald Trump when Donald Trump said the media is so dishonest and pointed to the media booth and said, "Oh, those guys back there, they're so dishonest and uncredited and not trustworthy." Did you feel that you were part of that? Did you get booed? Did you feel fear for your public safety being in that press box?
You know,
when Donald pointed you out to the crowd.
Maybe this world exists only in my head, but in Sam's fictional world, he knew I was there because he didn't do it. Okay, it's only alleged. It's only alleged. I can't prove it. It's just alleged. But but what I was happy about to get on tape, I'm dating myself on tape, on video here. What I was most happy about is on Wednesday was the day that Ford announced the betrayal of the American people. That is to say that they are outsourcing all of their small car production away from the country. Trump said he thinks they're trying to sneak it in before he gets into office, but it's not going to help them any. He's coming. And I got him the first time he addressed Ford moving. I was one of maybe a handful of people that got it first. And I was very, very happy about that. The moment it dropped, he talked about it. And that's where I hope Anne Marie is wrong. Because we're voting for him because he's standing up there saying, you know what? Ford's not going to be moving their small car production out of this country when Trump's in office. That is what we are there for. And this notion that there's a hatred or a bigotry there that's present in the people there simply isn't. I mean, everybody's kind of happy. They only get angry and start, getting, fists in the air when he starts talking about things like Ford moving all of their small car production out of the country. So what you run into is hatred outside from the other side. He's racist. He doesn't care about any. It's not racist to not want to give all of your small car production to another country. I think if we were moving all of our small car production to Canada, I would be just as angry. And I've noticed repeatedly there is that this notion on the left that he's racist because of the way he talks about Mexico. He talks about Mexico not because of the color of their skin, but the color of money. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about an entire nation stealing our jobs so that they can work at lower rates like slaves. Because somehow it's not racist to say, let's hire the Mexican. He'll do anything cheap because he's stupid. Supposedly, that's not racist, which is exactly what the big companies do. And that was sort of the takeaway that I received from the rally, was that people there are not angry at the black man. They're not angry at Mexicans. They are angry at our leaders who have allowed outsourcing and NAFTA and this one world, we're all in the same economy BS to take hold. This is absolutely ridiculous. And everyone says, well, Christians don't want a universal money. No, Christians do not want a universal money. Unless, of course, you count gold. I'm pretty sure everybody would be happy if we were all on the gold standard. In that case, these things wouldn't be such a big deal. But when you're talking about different countries being allowed to do things like Vietnam that works people literally to the point where their fingers bleed, When you are allowed to send American jobs there, that to me is racist. The exact opposite of what Trump is saying is racist. And that was what I got most from the event.
Excellent, Sam. Very informative.
Thank you, thank you. In the words of Little Caesar.
Considering that we're going on 3 hours, do you guys want, do you have any science news? Did you hear about the robot that keeps escaping the lab in Russia and this week was arrested by Russian police?
No, but I'd like to. I have a real short story afterwards. You have yours ready?
He's called Promobot. He was out campaigning for some Russian running for office. He's the same robot that's escaped the lab a couple times. Someone didn't like his questioning, and the police actually attempted to handcuff a robot. Nothing like Hillary Clinton. Anyways, forget about that. Sam, what do you have? Sam, science. It's the science. It's Sam science. I'm talking science. Go ahead, Sam.
RP, this was dated September 10th, but I didn't want to get rid of it because I think it matters. 15 years after 9/11, emergency responders and civilians turning up with record rates of cancer. After the 9/11, New Yorkers were assured that the air was safe by the EPA. Now, I'm going to get back to why this matters in a minute. The federal government was slow to respond with health programs to help survivors, despite recognizing the worst health effects, wouldn't be seen for 10 to 15 years. But 15 years later, cancer rates have doubled. You get that, friends? Doubled. That means twice as many for you Kesha fans. The EPA that we're trusting to test our food from Japan, we're trusting them to monitor what's being brought into the air, and this is why I don't want government involved in these kinds of things. The EPA, which is our government putting restrictions on supposedly safety restrictions, the EPA told us all that the air was safe. Now, my belief is that if you were to go ahead and allow private competing companies to test the air, that would work. And let me tell you why. Let's say you have Shell and you have BP, and they both say, I promise you it's safe. You can trust us. Let Shell's company test BP's. They're going to want to do that because they're competitors. That's the kind of thing that happens when corporations do it because they will tell on each other for the good of the bottom dollar. The EPA is literally failed half these people that got cancer, if you're going to say it doubled. They said it was safe. One of the people, it says, at the forefront of efforts to get help to the first responders was John Field, a first responder, who lost half of his foot working at Ground Zero. We walked the halls of Congress for 6 years to get it, the Zagroga Act. In 2010, John Field, executive director of the Feel Good Foundation, that's FEAL, told RT, at the time, everyone was jumping up and down that it was passed, but the first words out of his mouth were, we've got more work to do. The poor guy missing his foot used the analogy of jumping up and down, just saying. I don't celebrate human life. I don't celebrate when human life is at stake, when people are sick and dying. How do you celebrate, added Field? Cancer wasn't ever part of the bill when I got passed into 2010. We had it to fight and advocate and petition the community to get cancers added there in the year 2011. So the first thing they tried to do was deny it. Same thing they did to the poor Gulf War veterans and the Gulf War that happened back when D-Lake and I were in high school, in the 90s. Told them, don't worry about it. It was nothing to worry about. It was no big deal. They ended up coming down with horrible respiratory illnesses. Well, the EPA told these poor people that it was safe. And you could say, well, the fire department had to be there. Bullshit. The fire department had to be there with respirators. But they didn't want to spend the money for the respirators. Maybe that was it. Maybe it would have cost a little bit too much money for the respirators. So the EPA just said, go ahead in, boys, it's safe. The people who deserve the credit are the people who came to Washington, D.C. with me in 2010, but in 2015. They are sick and they are dying in wheelchairs and with oxygen tanks on 20 to 30 medications a day. And he said he was in the beginning they didn't have the science and the data, but along with the survivors, they did go to Congress once it was achieved. An award-winning reporter, Eric Williams, was working downtown when the attack happened and worked in the area for years afterwards. He has since developed health problems, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and he joined the WTC Health because Ground Zero survivors still battle health problems. This is from Dr. Joan Reedman. She put the tweet out from the WTC. People after couldn't breathe and taking medication. He remembers the head of the EPA, Christine Todd Whitman. Thanks, the wonderful Christine Todd Whitman. You did great, except for the fact that you didn't. Remarks shortly after 9/11 telling New Yorkers that the air quality is safe and acceptable. I thought it was disingenuous on the part of Christy Todd Whitman, who said publicly that it was perfectly safe for first responders and for people who worked in the zone to return to work as if it was normal, Williams told us. That gave the false impression to the dangers of returning to a section of town. And
this massive pyroclastic flow that emanated from two 110-story tall steel and concrete buildings. I mean, when they collapse into a gigantic cloud of dust and pyroclastic flow is what you would call it, like a volcano. But I mean, all this dust right here, everything that you're seeing in this cloud went into, New Yorkers' lungs. I don't know the count, millions. Right. And people were affected. And I mean, first responders are like in this picture, like they were rushing towards the pyroclastic flow like Batman.
And again, I'm not saying the first responders shouldn't have been there. I'm saying give the men respirators. At least tell them, hey, we're giving you respirators because we don't know what this is going to do. Don't say it's safe because
even 6 to 8 hours after the Twin Towers collapsed, before Building 7 also fell at free fall speed into its own footprint,
committed suicide.
There were still people running around with no respiration, and even in the days following, people that were trying to clear the debris. I mean, even Donald Trump might be at risk, because supposedly he was at Ground Zero around the time helping with those.
I went there. I went there for 2 days in October of that year, and it was the most rancid smell that you had ever smelled in your life. I mean, it was. You were
there you were in New York in October 2001, and you're saying a month after 9/11, you were still had 3 weeks. A month after 9/11, you were still smelling death in the air. Is that what you're?
Death. It was this burnt chemical smell that just permeated the entire area.
Like someone had their emergency brake on too long, or how could you explain it?
For people like me that are too lazy to use snippers, if you're wiring with speakers in your house and you're using thin speaker wire, it's not very healthy, so don't do this. But you'll burn the tip of it so that you can peel the plastic off real quick. It smelled like that everywhere.
And really strong. A month after the buildings.
It was awful.
Were demolished or collapsed.
My best friend and bassist, Dan Giuliani, said, we need one thing from America. We need you to go to New York City and spend money and help the. So my bassist really did, and he proposed to his girlfriend there. We really did go to New York City and spend money to try to help the economy. That's what he asked us to do.
I mean, you were there for more than just a memorial of that. I mean, you were there for that.
I was only there for a couple of days, but I could imagine working in it. It says the diseases stemming from the World Trade Center attacks include almost all lung diseases, almost all cancers. That means skin. That means bowel. That means things that you wouldn't think of. Such as issues from upper airways, gastrophageal, if I can talk, acid reflux disease. That's a more chronic one. Post-traumatic stress. Oh well, I mean everything. Anxiety. All right, that's the EPA can't help that, so I'll let them off the hook on that. But I mean, you call up the pictures of those firefighters. Look into their eyes. They would have went if you gave them a respirator and told them, we're doing our best, they would have went. Look into their eyes, dude. They'd have went. Instead, we lied to them and sent them in without not so much as a respirator because we didn't want to spend the money. We found pounds of arsenic, lead, mercury, and chromium. Chromium is one of the most deadly compounds that we know of. Lead ammunition is on the site. Who only knows how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds of lead were in the air. Do we even know if they had asbestos in that building at the time that it was built? And we sent our first responders in there to that. And unfortunately, that is my very grim news from the science front. I just thought I wanted to put that out there so that when you hear videos on Fukushima, or when you hear about Japanese food coming in, or the effects it's having on the coast, when you hear about leaks at plants in New York, or you hear about the dangers of fracking and the water, and when the EPA says the water is okay after fracking, remember this story that I told you. Remember of these people that got cancer in double the normal rates.
Or you hear about Hillary collapsing at 9/11. Now it's Hillary collapsed at 9/11. Hillary, one old lady, not two 110-story buildings. Oh, excuse me, and plus the 57-story building called World Trade Center 7. Emery's not here to discuss any of this, so now we can just let the conspiracy theories abound.
Where did she go? Aliens took her.
I'm not really sure.
Last week too. But yeah, I mean this is the EPA in action, and I got to tell you, man, it doesn't instill me with trust. I guarantee it doesn't instill those people that have cancer. Could you imagine? I mean, everyone knows someone that's been through it, but I mean, think about what it would be like to get up in the morning and know it was chemo time. To know,
I mean, to my knowledge,
the stage you were in.
To my knowledge, Amory grew up in New York, but she wasn't there in 2001 because she had recently moved to Texas. She said George Bush gave her no warning, and I believe her. So, but
absolutely,
she just randomly, coincidentally moved to Texas. I mean, there's no conspiracy theory there. I was living in San Diego. No conspiracy. No one told me to be living there when it happened. I didn't have any foreknowledge. Did anyone have foreknowledge, Sam, of 9/11? Do you think before it happened?
Supposedly, members of the certain Islamic sects did, and there is some evidence that certain people with Mossad did. Again, I'm not saying blame the Jew. See, he hates Jews. He hates Jews. I do not.
Wasn't there even like a governor, mayor, or senator that was seemingly given some sort of advanced "don't be in New York tomorrow" kind of news?
There were a couple of senators that got it. There was also a massive influx of precious metals removed from the building, I think only days prior to the attack, as if they knew it was coming.
Precious metals as in maybe gold?
I don't know if it included silver or platinum, but I know gold for sure.
A lot of gold, maybe. Wow. Well, we've all seen gold heist movies, and that sounds incredible. Which is probably a perfect segue into entertainment. Did you see that Donald Trump was on Jimmy Fallon last night, The Late Show?
I've got to sneak it in before D-Lake stops me. Yes, because Donald Trump is tweeting about the Patriots win. They won. I snuck it in on you.
Donald Trump tweeted something about the Patriots winning.
Yeah, they're 2-0. It's a joke, listeners. We always say we never talk sports, but then I'm always the one that does. But yeah,
is that real? He's a Patriots fan, and he tweeted about their win.
Yeah. Let me see exactly what I had it up a second ago.
And everyone's got to have a team, right? Everyone's got to pick their team, or what? Is that his fantasy?
Did I close that? I think I closed my Twitter. Hold on. Yeah, he had just texted about it. I tweeted about it.
Remember in the primary when that came up, though, and Marco Rubio was answering, and Jeb Bush was answering questions about, like, fantasy football and stuff? You remember that?
Yeah.
It was in a debate, and he's like,
a little bit fuzzy, but a little bit.
Because Rubio put out, like, a fantasy football commercial or something. I'm still a little bit fuzzy on it, too, but I remember they brought up fantasy football, and one of them was like, why are we talking about – it was like Ted Cruz or maybe it was Jeb Bush. Or someone was like, I don't know why we're talking about fantasy football. I think Jeb Bush was talking about fantasy football. I think it was Ted Cruz that was like, why are we talking about fantasy football? Anyways, it looks like we might have Anne-Marie coming back in here.
I think
Anne-Marie, are you back?
The life is good. No, she did not go to Wendy's, so never mind.
Anne-Marie, did you go to Wendy's? And why didn't you bring enough for everyone?
Well, actually, I did start cooking dinner. It's 5:25 here, so. Okay,
great. Yeah, so it's about dinner time. All right. Well, we did Sam's science, and then we segued into entertainment. And Sam, where were we? We were just on entertainment. Do we have a question for Anne-Marie now that she's back? While she prepares dinner, so obviously we don't have much time left. Let's get it all out.
Well, I was thinking mostly about. I wanted her opinion, but I think she missed the story, so that's not fair. But the EPA, the Anne-Marie's a little more in favor of government regulation, but the EPA has failed so miserably that cancer rates have doubled. And of course, if I was saying, say you have Shell and BP, if you have people testing against each other in order to try to look better in terms of making money, I think that would be more productive. I don't trust the EPA, especially after hearing this. I trust them even less.
Right. Well, that comes up even with people's own well waters, well water being tested. The EPA supposedly will test the water, but they're finding, we were talking about fracking, and they were finding, things. I think that it needs to be, the EPA, we need an EPA, but it should be better. And
yeah, but if you allow it to the private sector, what if you had 5 or 6 different independent EPAs? I don't mean that. You know what I mean. People that do the same.
Right.
Like I got a job for everybody that want to speak about a rare job. I have a writing job where I submit a number of articles each week about DNA testing. And I ended up, by dumb luck, now that I'm like 40 articles into this, I probably know more about DNA testing than I had ever dreamed was knowable. I've been, it's a very tedious subject. But one of the things they do is when someone is claiming custody of a child, the AAB certification rules and most court rules state that you have to have an independent party do the testing. And there are probably thousands of independent testing facilities. I recommend fastdnatesting.com. But there are tons of them. I think that would be more productive than having the government with one organization, the EPA. And that would also prevent what you were worrying about with corporations policing themselves. This would be a number of independent groups that were not connected to the government. And I think that would be the best way to go.
I'm sorry, I muted out. That's a good point. I mean, I know that there are laboratories that test. I know where I used to live in Texas, there was actually a laboratory at the end of our road. We lived in the middle of nowhere. And there was a laboratory there at the end of our road. And our neighbor, he had a house there, and then he worked at the laboratory, and he tested rocket fuel, he tested water. So there are some, out there. I guess you would have to get your water tested independently if you don't trust what the EPA is going to say and things like that. And if you want more independent testing facilities, I mean, I'm all for that, because like you said, then there's no lobbying of the government, because the corporations can send lobbyists to the government, and there's no conflict of interest. I'm all for it. In independent testing labs, more facilities.
Because that might be the best way to go after this. But yeah, you'll have to look up the article. You were busy, but it's the EPA allowed cancer rates. They sent the first responders in telling them it was safe instead of giving them respirators. And respirators would have helped.
Oh, yes. I mean, a lot of those people have died. Oh my goodness, over the years since 9/11, a lot of those first responders have died.
Doubled. I knew it went up. I didn't realize it doubled.
That's actually, Anne-Marie.
That's an insanely high amount. I was thinking 20% or something. Doubled?
Those people.
Sam also admitted too that Anne-Marie, you didn't hear the whole story, but it basically popped off about the dust after 9/11, and I wanted to point out that sometimes when you look stuff up on Google, up here at the top above the pictures will be other suggestions. But in my experience, when you put in something that's like sort of a fringe conspiracy theory, you'll get this rainbow flag of suggestions, which are only semi-related to what Steve Buscemi. How is that related to what we're talking about? Priest, Fallen, Harley, Michael Lynch, Tim Brown.
Maybe they all talked about it.
It's in a rainbow coalition, and how does that exactly look? If I just put in, let me just put in 9/11 just so you can see the difference. 9/11. Oh, there's nothing up at the top. 9/11 first responders. Okay, so you see here we have games, September 11, firefighters, we have these selections. It's not a rainbow thing of stuff that is not what we're talking about, and it's not blank like it is if you just put in 9/11. I mean, is this? I don't know. It's just Google. I'm just pointing out things that happen on Google searches. Oh, the other night, I mean, I wasn't preparing a Google search game, but I was trying to ask Google, like, once a president is elected, before the inauguration, because you get elected in November, but you're not inaugurated until January, right?
Mm-hmm,
right, guys? So I was looking up before wait, let's look up president-elect before. Oh, now it's not doing it. Now it's not doing it because it knows I'm live. Google is let me go to straight Google. Let me just go straight Google. President. I'm trying to make a point, guys. Stick with me here. President-elect before. There it is. President-elect before. And the top 3 selection, dies. There it is. That's what I was looking for.
That's interesting, D-Like.
Dies.
Remember,
dies. What happens if they die?
5:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9/18/2016. Remember it. D-Like has a knack for these things.
I'm just saying, the Google search, like, I wasn't looking for die. I didn't look for die the other night before I found this. I was honestly just trying to see what they would do, where they would be. I mean, is Donald Trump still going to be doing rallies after he's elected, before his inauguration?
Well, I don't think it's a conspiracy to kill him. I think, if anything, it's a conspiracy to make you click on it, if anything, so that they can say, look how many people clicked on that. Well, they wouldn't have if it hadn't come up.
See, I start typing inauguration. Wait, it went away. Okay, president-elect. I was president before inauguration is what I was honestly looking for, and both suggestions have the word die. I wasn't even thinking about die. So are they trying to inject my search with?
Well, here's my problem with metadata as a whole, which is a lot of what spurs that and searching. What bothers me about that is the generalizations that people tend to make regarding one's searches. For instance, I've been covering the Ashley Madison hack, which is a cheater's website. I have been writing DNA paternity testing stories for a month, and there was an ad on Craigslist where somebody wanted your heartbreak story. So I wrote about a breakup that I had went through prior to when I met my wife. It was no reflection on her at all. They didn't even know her. I didn't even know she existed then. And I wrote it and submitted it. If somebody was to look at the searches that I put up, I'm on a cheating website. I'm looking up paternity DNA testing, and I wrote a heartbreak story. Sam's got a kid somewhere.
Yeah, in addition to all the Nazi videos you watch, Sam, you fucking deplorable.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you, I mean, I don't know. I guess to put the big...
If you're just doing research, Sam, is basically where you're going?
Yeah, if you're just doing research and that's it, period, then it's no big deal. But the way metadata looks, You know, I mean, I look pretty bad. It would imply that I'm either interested in DNA testing or, you know, some weird Ashley Madison search. And really, I'm a guy doing reports and commentary out of his studio following the Ashley Madison case. And since that doesn't pay a lot, I'm hired by a DNA company. But you would never think that would be the answer to the story if you just look at the data. So that's interesting.
Well, Sam, it really should be only until you're arrested or running for president that those things start to matter.
I think it would matter to anybody who started to really get somewhere. Let's pretend that my band got a top 10 hit. Somebody hacks me and says, yeah, he's looking up Ashley Madison, so him and that singer are cheating on each other. I'm not. But, I mean, you got a point there. You would end up with crazy things if you look at metadata. And I think that's why I don't like that being around, because
you just need to get bleach bit like Hillary Clinton and just
now, that's the one thing I would
erase it beyond. God can't even read it.
Right, I got a problem. Maybe it wasn't always free, but Anne Marie's gonna like this too. Trump keeps saying, so she went out and she spent all this money on bit bleach. It's a free program,
Bleach bit.
It's free. It's free. Now, I don't know if it was always free. Maybe he was right. Maybe it didn't used to be.
Bleach bit is free? No, it costs money.
No, it's free. Go look it up. It's free. As you're looking that up, I've got it. Woman lived with her son's corpse for over a decade. I've got my death for the day, listener. A Brooklyn woman, to stay in New York with our commentary, has been living with the corpse of her adult son for nearly a decade, police sources have said. This is a New York Post. The remains were found Thursday in an upstairs bed at the woman's home on Avenue North near East 22nd Street after the woman was hospitalized, and a relative went to grab a few of her things, according to the report. It reminds me of Dark Shadows, where the woman became unconscious and couldn't stop people from going into her house, and she almost ended up with people uncovering a crime that she had committed years ago. I don't want to say what it was for those who haven't seen it, but it reminds me of that. Like, she was hiding this secret, and hasn't left the house, and her son's dead upstairs. The unidentified relative called cops after discovering the corpse. The dead man, whose name has not been released, was a former taxi driver. He was apparently estranged from the rest of his family, I guess so, who told NYPD they hadn't seen him in almost 20 years. Well, we've accounted for 10 of those years, haven't we? This is from WPIX. The city medical examiner would determine the son's cause of death. So, I mean, you almost don't know what to say. We haven't heard from him in 20 years. Well, you're at least 10 years late to figure out why. But, it'll be interesting to see if this woman survives. What kind of, how hard do you hit an old woman who's clearly insane? Do you send her to prison? Do you make her live out the rest of her days in a nursing home and she can't leave? Or, what do you do there? I'd hate to be that judge. I'd probably say you're free to go as long as you live with somebody at all times, if I was Mr. Joe Judge. But I'd hate to have that case, because clearly that she's not all there. But she's not a harm or a threat to anybody. So technically speaking, you lock up people who are going to be a harm to themselves or other people. Unless she killed him, she's neither. So, gray area. That's why I put this as my death for the week. Gray area on what to do with this woman.
That's really interesting. And Sam, I'm trying to think of a positive result for everyone, and it is really gray.
All right, I got a positive result. I got it. I got a positive spin for this. The positive spin is that it's good to know that you can live with a corpse and not catch some horrible disease like typhoid if you are careful. How's that? Yeah. See? You can be around dead things.
I'm sorry, Sam. That's no good. That's not gonna go over well. No, that's not the positive.
All right.
Here.
The positive is that it maybe this guy wanted to leave the rest of his family and not see them, and it worked. I don't know.
Okay. And she couldn't
All right, I got a positive. This clearly was therapeutic for her, and if he died of natural causes, it did him no harm. I did it.
If you say so, Sam. It sounds like Weekend at Bernie's. And have you guys noticed the rise in references to the movie Weekend at Bernie's ever since 9/11, when Hillary looked like she was a dead person being propped up?
I press release yesterday, and she looked like a zombie. I mean, literally, I saw the pictures, and I have a pet peeve when people keep saying she had the seizure when she did the whole weird neck thing. She was making fun of how strong the coffee was and how many people were speaking to her at one time. That wasn't a seizure. However, when I saw the images also,
it was pretty over-exaggerated.
When I saw the images slowed down, I was like, oh, they've slowed it down to make her look like a zombie. You can do that with anyone. Then when I watched her speech and she talked about the bombing, oh my God, Granny, you just rolled out of bed. This is not spin. You really do look that bad. Can you play a piece of that? Don't play the audio because we'll be flagged for sure. But can you play a piece of the...
You're talking from last night on the plane after the bombing.
Yeah.
And like, why are all her media appearances on that plane where she's coming from first class?
That's where the triage unit is.
To reporter class now. But Anne-Marie, are you familiar with what Sam's talking about? And how do you feel about looking at Hillary the past few days since she's returned from her bed rest in Chappaqua for pneumonia? Anne-Marie, go ahead.
Well, I think her first appearance, she was getting onto an airplane, and then she was like on the airplane speaking, and she was wearing like a pink blazer. And I thought she looked really healthy. She looked... to me, she looked healthy. Like, her makeup looked great, like a better makeup artist or whatever. But she looked like healthy and great. And then I saw another piece.
It didn't look so bad. Maybe not healthy. Well, pretty good.
Well, she looked bright-eyed. I thought she actually looked really good, and I was thinking either her makeup was done better because they're always on camera, and that can make you look really fresh, And but she wasn't coughing or anything. And then and I saw another piece of video where she was talking about Trump. Someone asked her, a reporter asked her on the plane, and she was wearing like a blue, I think like something in blue. So a reporter asked her about, what do you think about Trump? The bombing, like he jumped the gun and said that there was a bombing in New York, city. And
yeah, but if I'm going to play what we're talking about, it's really a political football because the first thing she says is the bombings. And then they're like, Donald Trump called it a bombing. And she's like, well, we don't have all the facts. But the first thing she says is it was a bombing. So
it was the very first thing she said, by the way. I thought Mark Dice.
It's the very first thing she said. So obviously she's like, I got a briefing. Well, you're a presidential candidate. You don't think the other presidential candidate got the same briefing that you did? I've been briefed about the bombings, she just said. And Sam wanted to point out that she can barely have her eyes open for this. You guys can't hear it. She's talking really slowly. Also to
do you is that the slowed one? Play the regular one. Is that the slowed one?
This is normal speed, Sam.
I thought it was. Yes. I was telling Christelle that's normal speed. I'm not sure.
There's officials including like I said on a previous show, Donald Trump never. I've been watching him for over a year, and he doesn't and sound like he just got out of bed like Hillary and Obama do.
Well, it is exhausting being on the trail, but I have to say, I do agree that she looks tired here. She doesn't look well, but just like a day before, a couple of days before, if you bring up the video of her in this pink blazer, and it was like the first time she was seen since like the whole 9/11 thing, she looked great. I mean, they did a close up on her face. Like I said, she looked bright-eyed to me. She didn't look like that. So maybe she was just tired on this plane, or maybe she is still sick. I mean, they said she has pneumonia, but she looked great. How did she look this great a day ago? So look how great she looks in this pink blazer. I'm saying pink, but I know it's multicolored, but it's mostly pink.
There. I have it. I'm showing it.
Oh yeah, doesn't she look pretty healthy and great? And then also in this video, which is the latest video, doesn't look healthy. She looks tired. So maybe she's just tired and run down, or she's still feeling
But
sick.
it was only 8 p.m.
Great.
It was 8
No,
p.m.
I know. Mm-hmm. But maybe she just woke up. I mean, after I wake up, I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh. You know, like
and keep in mind both these. I mean, she was out on the trail that day with the new blazer. Her day back from after recovering from pneumonia is the story, and she's on a course of antibiotics still. It takes about 10 days. Takes about 10 days actually.
I have a theory on that, and again, this is only a theory, so I want to separate the two so that people don't find out otherwise someday, and I look like an idiot. But I have a theory on this. They did it with most notably Adolf Hitler when he was nearing the end of his rule. I don't know if I can't see what my screen sees, but if you can see my hand, he had Parkinson's like twitching, and they would always give him a pen or something to hold because he couldn't stop twitching. He always had his hand behind his back when he spoke. But if you got other camera angles, which weren't allowed to be released by the Reich, but they were after the fall, because news reporters would pick it up on accident, they just weren't allowed to stream it. Well, back then they didn't have streaming. Turn it in. They would, his doctor, and I forget his name, but his doctor would give him these cocktails. There's a whole documentary about this doctor. I need punched in the head.
Schwartz.
I need punched in the head for not remembering this doctor's name. But I know his name like I know my own. But he used to juice up Hitler, and you would hear him give the most rousing speeches, even when he was deathly sick, and he was said to be a zombie. And I think that the modern pharmaceutical world has probably done the same thing countless times. We know for sure it was done with Fidel Castro. We know for sure Morale. Yes, thank you, Morale. D like you're the man. Dr. Morale. If you would have given a football player as many amphetamines as Hitler had, that football player might die. It's a mystery how Hitler even lived. But they did it with Castro for sure. They may
even
have
JFK to a degree for his Adelsons.
Judging by the way he spoke, I suspected they did it with Yasser Arafat back in the day. But that's what I think is going on with Hillary.
She's being propped up by drugs?
I think
possibly amphetamines?
He's getting, hey, I'll admit it. Sometimes before I go on stage, I like to smoke a bowl. I do. Plain and simple, I like to smoke a bowl.
That's a little bit different, Sam.
And no, what I mean is I like how it makes me feel. Now, let's say that I needed to feel that way in order to be able to do it, or I couldn't do it at all. I might be tempted to do something harder. I mean, it's like, man, I don't, to some degree, Kurt Cobain did that. Kurt Cobain didn't just use heroin because he was a freak. He was in agony. His back was messed up and his stomach was messed up, and it made him be able to go on stage and not feel anything. Without
making any accusations of any kind, I mean, what are you sort of inclined to be sort of describing?
What she could be on, I don't know, because her doctor would have to monitor that very closely due to her history of stroke and heart disease. So she probably wouldn't have the smorgasbord that Kurt Cobain would have.
But some kind of cocktail you think is
something to at least lift her up a little bit, or like
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think she might be mostly healthy, but like have these bouts with pre-existing condition. I'm not really sure.
It could be Adderall. Adderall is like a legal meth, and it makes you feel bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Well, I want her to stay alive and be Donald Trump's competition.
It makes you unbelievably focused, Adderall.
It does?
I had a friend of mine when my friend Lydia died that I was really, really busy throughout the whole week, and he gave me an Adderall, which isn't legal, but it's fine. It's a long time ago. And I was up, I was focused, I was able to get through the rest of my day and came home and crashed like a zombie and would have looked like Hillary. Another example, when my dad was dying, there were times that he'd call you at 4 in the morning in the best mood. The last time I ever saw him was the day before he died. After practice was over, at like 4 in the morning on a Sunday, my dad calls me and asked if I'd come out and hang out with him because he was feeling pretty good, wanted somebody to watch TV with. My dad was stoned out of his mind. He died the next day. But he was able to push right through it, not even really know it, while he was on whatever they were giving him to make it easier for him. So, I mean, it looks to me that she might be doing something to that effect. And that's why I'm telling everybody, if you're going to vote for Clinton, make sure you know who Kane is. I mean, yeah, Johnson fans need to know who Weld is. And, Trump fans, of course, pass. I want to know more about Kane if she's this thing.
Thanks, Sam. We're about 3.5 hours in, almost 4 hours in. I don't know if the Hangout's going to cut us off at 4 hours, but you finally brought up Tim Kaine, and Anne-Marie had a whole thing about Tim Kaine that we never got to.
Well, even if they shut us off, she's got like 10 minutes. Anne-Marie, bring us the story of Kane and Unable.
Okay.
And these shows can only go 4 hours, and we're almost there. So give it to us.
Okay, I'll tell you real quick. The abridged version is that some Republicans like Tim Kaine, and some Democrats like him. And this has to do with like the pipeline. You know, right now in the country, we're talking about the pipeline in Florida, and that they're protesting that. But this is in Virginia. Now when he was in Virginia, he has people who, like his own constituents, think that he is on their side. I'll give you a quick quote. Somebody who, believes that Kane is against building this pipeline in Virginia. I'm trying to rush here. They said, we feel like the heart side of Kane is here with the landowners, and that's the way we fight these pipelines. Okay, and that's by this Jane Glebe. She was a key organizer in the defeat of the Keystone XL. And Tim Kaine has to be the #1 focus right now of the landowners. Get him to be their champion. So they believe that he is like fighting for the landowners' rights, and the landowners don't want a pipeline coming through their property in Virginia. But on the other side of it, the largest single corporate contributor, and Kane has accepted his share of the company's cash, is this Atlantic Coast Pipeline. This is the other side. This is like the Republican side. The corporation, this Dominion, that's their name, Dominion Corporation, and they gave.
How did he accept the cash? What do you mean he accepted cash in the form of what way did he accept the cash? Does it say?
It says here that Kane has accepted his share of the company's cash and gifts, more than $300,000 in total since 2001. And when they were asked what they thought of Kane, a lobbyist, a senior from the American Petroleum Institute, and this is a lobbyist for the other side, this is against the landowners, this is the people who want to build the pipeline. They said, quote, he is the best we could have hoped for. And
whoa,
also,
so that's the contradiction right there. The guys that want the pipeline say he's the best, and he's saying this for the people that don't want the pipeline. So how does that work out?
Yeah, the landowners all think that he is on their side, and he has stalled when he was in Virginia. He's stalled on letting them build this pipeline through Virginia, and he's basically, I'm just giving you the abridged version, but basically he's set up like committees, like let's find out more, let's find out more what's going to happen. So the landowners are like, oh, Kane is for us, and they're like Democrats, and they think that he's for the landowners and against the big oil corporation. This big oil corporation's name is Dominion. And then on the other side, and you know the Republicans, George W. Bush, they all have a history with oil, the oil industry. And the other side, the Republican side, they love
Andy,
him.
you see
They
what's
like
on my
him.
screen right here, right? You see my screen? Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's the other thing. A lot of these people, I want to just abridge this. So, but basically, yeah, they on the other side, they've been giving him money. Like these politicians need a lot of money to run for office, to keep running for office. And who does he get money from? These, and who's lobbying him? There's always lobbyists out there lobbying from corporations. And they gave him a lot of money. And he basically, when they lobby you and give you lots of money for your campaigns, usually it's like a tit for tat. And that's the other side. That's the Republican side. That's this corporation who wants to build this pipeline. So it's completely the opposite. You got landowners who are saying that he's fighting for them and he's fighting for the landowner and against this pipeline. And then you have a corporation who is who wants to build this pipeline, who basically by contributing to his campaign and is saying he is the best choice for us in the White House. He's better than Trump and Pence. They have an in with this guy. So they think they're going to be building this pipeline. And they're happy with him. So I think that contradiction is really strange. If anyone wants to look it up, this article, it's really interesting. They go into a little bit more detail and more in depth. But I think that's really odd. You got people on the exact opposite sides. They completely, you can't be more opposite. The landowners or the owners of.
Sorry. So where is it? Where can we find it?
Let me see.
I don't want to argue anything until I know the story more. Where can I find that?
This is intercept.com. And it's a fracking pipeline puts Tim Kaine's fossil fuel industry ties to the test. And it's from July 28th.
Okay.
And the intercept.com.
We're going to have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
Great. So everyone knows where to find it, because we want to encourage you to do your own research. I mean, the whole reason that we bring these topics up is to encourage you to do your own research when you're watching the show. I mean, you might be watching the show going, D. Lake is a stupid idiot that doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and Anne-Marie knows exactly what she's talking about. And then you go to the internet and you gather up all the points, and then you leave your comments down below. Or maybe you'll be like, D. Lake is so on point, and maybe Anne-Marie doesn't know what she's talking about, or maybe Sam is just completely oblivious and he's retarded. And leave that comment below. Be like, D. Lake's the best, Sam's retarded, and Anne-Marie doesn't know what she's talking about. I encourage you to leave that comment down below. I encourage you to leave your comment that says, this was a really great 4-hour show. Anne-Marie killed it. Sam, just every point he made was so on point, even though they didn't agree on everything. But what you guys really need to do is just lose that D. Lake guy. He just brings down the whole show. He ruins everything. He never knows what he's talking about. Just what a big L on his forehead for loser. Just get rid of that guy. Or
no, they won't say that.
People will leave that comment, or they'll be like, just D. Lake, just remove the glasses and just be normal. And I'm like, I don't know what your definition of normal is, but your definition and mine are not the same. And then we could have a whole different other show about that, but that's fine. The way that you can find more shows like this amazing 4-hour news show on a Sunday is by visiting us next Sunday, for another great show. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be this long. This was kind of a special occasion, but the presidential election is getting closer. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. There's just a lot of opinions out there. There was a lot of stuff that happened this week. I think Sam did a really great job. My comment down below is going to be like, Anne-Marie, Sam might beat Ganji, D. Lake for Prez. They killed it. What a great show. Couldn't believe how amazing it was. I hope every show is as good or even better. But Sam, how did you feel about it? And let people know where they can find you. Sam, go ahead.
They can find me on Tumblr, and I'm easy to find on Tumblr. You can find the Media Speaks logo
Because you're the only one there.
There's nobody else on Tumblr. I'm the only person. I'm tumbling all alone. I swear, it is the deadest site on the internet, and you can bet I'm on it. You can find me at youtube.com/thecorrectviews. You can also donate to my show now at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. I have it linked up to my PayPal, and you can donate to thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. If you do, let me know what your favorite charity is. Let me know what business you have, and I will promote it heavily. No hate groups. Don't be the KKK and try to be funny. I'll decline it.
David Duke sends you an email.
I've heard of people doing that to set people up. If you're some hate group and I don't catch the name, haha, very funny, you got me. But I'm saying publicly I didn't know about it.
Sam falls for white supremacists.
He took an organization, a satanic group. Oh, very funny, you got me.
Got you again, pal. Promoting the devil. How dare you? Anne-Marie, thanks for being on the show. Where can people find you?
Right here, mediaspeaks.com on YouTube.
Yep, Media Speaks on YouTube every Sunday. And sometimes in the middle of the week when Sam gets press passes, so you never know when the next show is really going to be.
Oh, yes. To the listeners of the Media Speaks, D-Lake may want to make this a separate little thing at the end. The stream that was promised to you on the Media Speaks, the Canton Civic Center, of which Donald Trump paid $20,000, this is public record, paid $20,000 to get the Civic Center. It has zero internet, none whatsoever. There was one freebie that might have been coming from the Wendy's next door. I don't know. And as soon as you tried to run a stream, it dropped. And I think they may still be up there. You'll see where it happened. It was certainly not the Media Speaks fault. We can't afford a satellite truck yet. It wasn't the Media Speaks fault. It wasn't Donald Trump. It was the Canton Civic Center. They have no internet.
We did our best. They did their worst. Sam, did you also hear in closing? Everyone can find D-Lake for Prez on the Media Speaks on YouTube. Look for me every Sunday, and sometimes sprinkled in between like salt and pepper. But did you hear that yesterday Bernie Sanders was out on the trail for Hillary? His first event had maybe 150 people. Second event at a college campus had a little bit more than that. Third event that was, I think, supposed to happen in Canton, Ohio was canceled probably because they didn't have enough RSVPs. Did you hear about that? Bernie Sanders, his flame is out. The flame has been doused.
I'll tell you one thing I did notice. I wish I would have
no more flame.
Earlier, is that ever since Hillary has taken the reins and there was no Bernie, you've lost about 85% of your protesters. There were protesters coming out the ass in Akron and in Cleveland. Lo and behold, Akron's not that much bigger than Canton, a little bit, but there should have still been more than this. I mean, if that was
the Democrats, you think would be protesting Trump more, but 80% of the actual protesters were Bernie fans, and they're not going to go out of their way to protest Donald Trump on behalf of Hillary Clinton.
Yes, and most of the people protesting Trump are quick to say, "Well, I don't know if I'm voting for Hillary." They're real quick to say that. There was a guy carrying a "No Nazi" sign up and down the middle of the turnaround of the median strip where you drive through the parking lot of the Civic Center, and it was carrying a sign saying "No Nazis." And I asked him about Hillary Clinton's ties because he doesn't believe that Trump doesn't want the support of the KKK, even though Trump says he doesn't. Fair enough, it's what the guy believes. I don't know why, but he does. I asked him what he thought about Hillary Clinton saying that Robert KKK Byrd was her mentor, who she seeked out advice from. And he said he thinks she's every bit as bad as Trump. He used to support Johnson, and he's voting Stein this time. So, I mean, a large number of the people that are showing up don't like Hillary. They just hate Trump. So they are falling apart under Hillary's leadership. They really are. The Republicans might be unrecognizable under Trump. I understand why the Bush fans are angry. I get it and I respect it because we took over. But at least we're not dying in the pond. I mean, and I don't mean that as a health joke because I don't wish Hillary sick. I draw the line there, even I'm not that mean. But I mean, the party is literally dying around her under her leadership.
All right, well, Sam, that's going to have to be the last word unless you have one more last word. Go ahead.
Pour juice on your chin.